I'm doing terrible.
Oh, that's a huge claim, though.
That's not going to fit in the camera, bro.
Wow. They're telling me how they're going to screw me right from the start. And when I say, could we do it somewhere else? They're like, no, get ready.
If they try pulling that in Portugal, they'll get beat the fuck up.
Onto a game that didn't take years and years to develop and didn't launch. This is a game that did, in fact, launch, but maybe it should have gone the way of Star Citizen as well and just not launch, because that might have been better for them. What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Akelon here, and as always, welcome back to another episode of the Mythic Banter with me, Akelon, and of course, Rurikon, joining us once again. Rurikon, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing terrible. It's been an atrocious week. So it's like I am.
You know, the viewer comes in, they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be a nice episode.
It's gonna be so great."
Let's go. And Rurukon's just like, "Man, life's falling apart. I don't know what to do."
Yeah, everything's terrible. Everything's bad. It's the end of everything as we know it. I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
Nah, it's like it's just been rough IRL shit, and I'm probably taking the next week off, like we were talking about in the beginning. So there might not be an episode next week. That's because of me. It's because of me. I'm just a little bit tired, a little bit exhausted, and my kids are on vacation next week, so that's going to make it even harder to get anything done. So I need to take some time off, is what I'm saying.
Go for it.
But other than that, we are ready to give you one of the most entertaining episodes of Mythic Banter ever as soon as I wake up.
Oh, that's a huge claim, though. In a week where almost nothing happened, like what are we doing? Dancing with our dicks out? I don't know. How are we making this entertaining?
That's not going to fit in the camera, bro.
Wow. But no, I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of news in the gaming industry, but most of it is bullshit news. Like, most of it is like, oh, this other indie game came out and now it's not out. Like, who cares? Like, very little is happening right now. Most of it is Nintendo, because Nintendo just keeps... Yep. I don't know. Like, someone just gave up at Nintendo. The PR guy was just like, I don't give a shit. Say whatever you want. And now they're just saying whatever they want.
I don't think they gave up. I think they're just like, you know what? Fuck these people. That's kind of like their attitude. They're just like, you know what? Fuck them. They should give us more money. Fuck them. And people go like, much. But why? And they go like, because fuck you, give me money. That's why. Yeah.
Nintendo seems to just, they're done pretending like they care. They're just here going, look, give us your cash.
Just give us money. We just want money. That's
if you complain about it, give us your cash. Like, we don't. we're not meeting you halfway. We're not meeting you 3/4 of the way. You can go fuck yourself. You'll meet us where we are, or else. It's like, wow. All right. I guess. Hey, I at least have respect for that level of just blatant honesty and greed. You know, you're just like, you're not even apologetic for your greed. You're just like, yeah, I don't care. Pay me money, bitch. It's like, wow. That's a little refreshing, actually.
Exactly. At least they're not trying to beat around the bush.
Yeah. They're telling me how they're gonna screw me right from the start, and when I say, could we do it somewhere else? They're like, no, get ready.
Hope you got lube.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other thing, of course, that we're going to be talking about is South of Midnight. They're basically just having a bit of fun at the expense of Compulsion Games here. And then Ubisoft, as you guys know, Ubisoft is always a classic over here. It's always fun to talk about them. But okay, before we talk about any of that, let's spend a quick second talking about streamers in Japan causing bullshit, because that seems to be a common thing these days. I don't know why. Every single streamer goes to Japan and immediately forgets what it is to be human. Like, just instantly. They're like,
I know why, because if they try pulling that shit in Portugal, they'll get beat the fuck up. So they don't come and do that shit in Portugal. They go do it somewhere else. It's like in a lot of countries, if you go there and you're disrespectful, you're going to get beaten the fuck up. But because the Japanese people are much more chill about stuff, they're like, oh, I can totally just go here and be a complete obnoxious asshole and nobody's going to fuck with me. Until, now a lot of people in Japan are actually getting tired of that shit. And they're like, you know what? Fuck you and the horse you rode in on.
Yeah.
Get fucked. And it's just like, you gotta respect other people's culture. It's just that simple. Like, I don't understand why. I mean, I say I don't understand. Obviously, I understand because they go there and they make money making fools of themselves. Because ever since the fucking, I don't know, I kind of feel like it was Logan Paul who kind of popularized the whole thing because he went in there dressed like a Pikachu, being a fucking moron, going to the suicide forest, filming a hanged person.
People.
Yeah. It's like, ever since then, I feel like it's just been popular for people to just go to Japan and be absolute nuisances. But keep going.
I mean, so first and foremost, for those of you wondering, I've been laughing so hard at the beginning of this episode, I started crying. So I just had to wipe my eyes out because I had literal water in my eyes going, and then my nose started going as well. So yeah, this is a fun start to the episode. But okay, so obviously we're talking about Mizkif, and Mizkif went into Japan, and basically for 2 months he's been there, and he's actually been really good. He's been really nice, just sort of enjoying Japan, enjoying the life in Japan. And from everyone I've spoken to, Japan is a vibe. Like, people say you absolutely have to experience it. It's unlike anything you could experience in any Western nation. There's no Western nation that can give you the vibes that Japan does. So he's just been enjoying it. And then he made a blunder. He did some pull-ups on a tree. The issue, of course, apparently is that it's a cherry blossom tree that he did the pull-ups on. And this led to massive, massive issues, like overnight. And according to him, if this is to be believed, he posted the video and he went to sleep. The next morning he wakes up, one of his friends phones him and is like, dude, you realize that tree is sacred. What you did there is absolute sacrilege. And he's immediately like, oh shit. He takes down the video. And he immediately tweets out an apology saying, I had no idea that this was actually a thing. I'm so sorry, So he immediately apologizes. In my book, that's where that ends. Because you cannot expect people to just know what the hell is sacred in your country and what isn't. In the West, it's just a tree. I'm sorry, but trees are just trees. They don't really do other than shade and sometimes looking very pretty. They're not sacred. So you can't really expect people to just know this stuff, right? The fact that he immediately apologizes, and also it wasn't like he was chopping down the tree or beating the tree with sticks, like holes, like they were doing pull-ups on the tree. Apparently that's harmful to the tree. I don't know. In the West, kids climb trees all the time, and it's considered perfectly normal. This might be a hot take, but I don't see why, because after he apologizes, there's like a string of people that still absolutely go after him for doing that to a cherry blossom and sort of expecting him to just know this stuff. Like, you should know that you shouldn't be climbing a tree.
So here's what we should do. We should shoot him.
I agree. Well, in this case, it's not even for him climbing the cherry. I just don't like Mizkif very much. So let's just shoot him. It's fine.
Obviously, no. Don't shoot Mizkif. So here's where I'm at. So there's a serious problem, and I kind of feel like in isolation, right? Him doing this wouldn't have been a big deal. No, in isolation, like if this was a one event thing, wouldn't be a big deal. The problem is that he does this after what we opened up this topic with, which is a bunch of streamers going to Japan and being absolute fucking idiots and being disrespectful of the culture and being completely atrocious. So now people are already charged in a way to judge things way more harshly. But then there's another aspect too. with Mizkif being a big streamer and actually having a big following and then publishing a video of himself doing a pull-up on a cherry blossom tree, what do you think is going to happen? There's going to be fans that are gonna want to go and do that because this is the tree. Is this the one? This is the one where Mizkif did the pull-up. Oh, I want to go there do a pull-up too on the tree. And obviously one person doing a pull-up on a cherry blossom, probably not going to see. I'm going to assume, I don't know that much about cherry blossoms.
Yeah, I don't know. If we have viewers here, by the way, that knows why cherry blossom trees are so sacred or whatever, we'd love to hear it.
It's like, it's not about it being sacred. My biggest concern is, could it damage the tree? The fact that he did a pull-up because maybe cherry blossoms are more sensitive to pressure in their branches or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a botanist.
That's why I'm asking if someone in chat knows. Please let us know, because I'm not against you guys being very angry about it. I just don't know anything about the cherry blossom. We don't have them yet.
But obviously, with the tree being sacred, that's a whole different thing, which is just like, listen, it's a sacred tree. You just don't fuck with it. Doesn't matter what the reason is. But it's going to be hard for tourists to know all of these things when they're in Japan. Like, I wouldn't know that it's that sacred that I'm probably not going to do a pull-up on it because I'm too old and I'm also too fat. I'd probably break the branch. So I wouldn't do that.
I'd break my arms before I break the branch. Like, holy shit. That would be some feat if I were doing pull-ups on a chair. Like, then the tree would be sacred. It gives strength.
But ultimately, like, I think that the apology is a good thing, but I think on top of it, because of the fact that he is a massive influencer, a video would probably be even better. Yeah. Because, like, just do a quick video and look, guys, I did this thing yesterday. I shouldn't have done it. And please never do anything like this, to at least kind of like, try to dissuade a portion of your fan base. And because again, when we're content creators, doing like a good effort, it is always a good thing. I'm assuming you'll talk about it on stream and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's the reason that people are so upset, I would imagine, is because of streamer culture in Japan, which is absolute fucking garbage. Yeah. And people are just being disrespectful all the time. So therefore, everybody's already charged to jump at you for the smallest thing, which makes sense.
And I think specifically the Japanese people, the reason this needs to stop is at some point, the Japanese people are going to basically start rejecting most Westerners from coming to Japan even, because they don't know who's going to be causing shit and who's actually just there to enjoy everything that they have to offer. So you can imagine, one of the things I oftentimes do see from people, though, is like they'll make the claim that streamers don't do this anywhere else. And it's like, dude, I've seen videos of streamers in New York City in the subway acting like absolute assholes. The only difference in the West is, in the West, you get punched. If you really piss someone off, someone will just clock you immediately. And that'll be the end of the stream. That'll be the end of your bullshit. The Japanese people are far too polite. They have not learned yet how to, in the West, sometimes you just have to punch a guy. Like, that's just how it is. You just have to, teach the guy some manners. But disrespect happens. A lot of these streamers live in their little bubbles where they're the most important person in the entire world and they can do whatever they want. Ultimately, I'd love to hear from maybe if we have some Japanese viewers, I'd love to hear what is the story with the cherry blossoms, and maybe also just in the comments, how do Japanese people actually feel about this? Like, what is the providing sort of thing for you guys there at the moment? But anyways, moving on swiftly to the actual news item for the day, Nintendo pricing drama. I don't know what to call this because there's so many layers of drama to this Nintendo thing that there's no real name for it. Because some of it is pricing, insofar as them going, like, any discussion about pricing finger. Is just them going,
yeah, we don't care. It's like, I think what we can call it is just straight up Nintendo's greed, because Nintendo is being exceedingly greedy with what they're doing, to the point where even Reggie Fils-Aimé came out and like, hey, we packed in Wii Sports back in the day. We made that a pack-in the West, and Miyamoto fought me over it because apparently Miyamoto didn't want it to do that. Did you didn't know about this story?
No.
So when the Wii came out, Reggie Fils-Aimé, who was the U.S. president of Nintendo at the time, made the argument that like, hey, we should bundle in Wii Sports, which is one of the things that like obviously was one of the most successful titles of the Wii because it was also bundled in, but it also made the Wii kind of like an overnight sensation because everybody wanted to do the little tennis thing with the Wiimote. Everybody wanted to do that, right?
Yeah.
So what they ended up doing was they packed it in the US and the Western markets, but they didn't pack it in Japan to kind of have like a little test market. And it was violently more successful in the West because it included that. And then he had to fight Miyamoto again because he wanted to include this little game called the Wii Play whenever they would sell a new Wiimote. And Miyamoto, again, did not want it to pack that in and fought Reggie Fils-Aimé again over this. This was, by the way, this is Reggie Fils-Aimé saying these things on Twitter. Like, I'm not making this shit up. I'm not, this isn't rumors. This is straight up from the horse's mouth, right?
Yeah.
And then Reggie Fils-Aimé caps that off by saying, and by the way, what I said was absolutely the right decision because these products were way more successful in the West than they were in Japan, where they didn't pack that stuff in. And so he was saying this as a commentary to Nintendo not packing in the welcome tour, virtual exhibition, glorified museum bullshittery where you can go and you can explore the insides of a Joy-Con for $10.
I mean, the issue is, so first and foremost, you guys thought we forgot. We didn't. We just kept it for this topic. Your votes from last week on the poll, where I asked you, are you okay with Nintendo's price increase? And a whopping 470 people voted on this. This is now the new most voted for post that we've had. And Rurikon, 9% of our audience said, we're perfectly okay with it.
Listen.
Yeah?
I still can't believe you had the gall to say we didn't forget. Bro, that's a fucking next level.
Well, we didn't forget. I had it open on my screen the whole time. It's been open from the beginning because I needed to check who's introing, and then I went to the thing to discuss it.
Maybe Akalon didn't forget. I had no fucking idea.
Yeah, but to be fair, you're not the one who makes the polls, right? I'm the one who makes the polls, so I sort of know, right, that I need to cover the polls.
You're the poll dancer. Yep, that's you.
Rurikon forgot. I didn't forget. I have your votes right here. 470 of you voted. 9% of you said, yeah, I don't really mind the price increases. A whopping 84%, however, said, no, I'm not okay with this. This is not good. Now, the reason I sort of found this to be the perfect way to shoehorn the polling into it is what Rurikon just said there. I think what Nintendo oftentimes completely forgets, Rurikon, is you catch more flies with honey, right? Like, if your customers view you as fair and as generous, they're more than happy to spend money doing and consuming whatever. I mean, there's so many games. Look at Path of Exile, for example, and I know we're going to be talking about some Path of Exile drama in a second, but Path of Exile 1 made tons of money for, more than a decade almost that it's been around. And it never made that money by trying to shoehorn purchases in sneaky ways of trying to get more money out of their customers. They just made a really good product, put it for people to play, and then just sort of left everything as if you enjoy this, give us money. You know, if you like it, you can buy stuff on the cash shop. If you don't, we give you all of the tools to play this game completely free of charge. And you know, they made money because clearly they made 2. You know, if they didn't make money on 1, they wouldn't be making 2. Clearly, this was a winning formula, which means gamers are not against giving you money. I would even go so far as to say, even if we're talking about the price increase, right? The $80 price increase, which when the Nintendo people were asked about this, now we're not sure if this is two different interviews that we watched or you watched an interview. I read an article about an interview, so I didn't watch an interview.
You're just going all over the place because you're going like from goodwill to going straight into the prices, and it's like.
But, there's a reason for it, because I just want to talk about the $80 on the game.
Okay.
Because it links into the goodwill part, right? Where Nintendo's boss is sort of like going, well, we think this is a really big game. It's good. It's interactive. It's fun. It's $80. It's like, really, compared to Monster Hunter Wilds, compared to Elden Ring, compared to Cyberpunk, compared to Baldur's Gate, you really think Mario Kart World is $10 more like worth? And the reason I make this point is I'm more than happy to pay $80, $90 to $100 for a game. But then that has to be the greatest game I've ever played in my life. No, if you make a game that is so much better than anything I've ever played in my life, you promise me that I'm going to be spending the next million hours playing this game and it's going to be the greatest time I've ever had in my life. All right, let's try it out. It has to deliver, of course. This has to be the experience of experiences, because you charged $80, $90 for this game. But if you're giving me Assassin's Creed Shadows for $80, no. Hey, what are we doing here? This game is barely worth $40. So I feel like this is something that Nintendo, specifically a lot of the AAA, but Nintendo doesn't get this. They don't get that there's an actual value proposition and that there's value in being good nature towards your customers. Or am I misreading it, in your opinion?
Yeah, you're misreading it. Nintendo doesn't think like that because Nintendo has a concrete example in the form of Pokemon. Nintendo is doing this because they fucking can. It's just that simple, because they look at people constantly buying that disgusting Pokemon slop, and people come in by the droves. They're like, oh, fuck yeah, dude, yeah, new Pokemon, yeah. Look, like, people might remember in the last podcast you did that edit where you showed Pokemon next to Xenoblade Chronicles X.
I was actually surprised, because I've never seen Xenoblade before, and I was looking at this going, wait, the Pokemon one is the new one?
Yes.
What the hell do you mean that's the new one? The Xenoblade looks like the new one. Pokemon looks like the old one.
Yeah, because the developers of Xenoblade are actually fucking talented, which is, like there's a reason I've been saying time and time again that Monolith Soft is one of the most underrated and downright disrespected developers in this industry. And it is because of Xenoblade. But regardless of that, the point that I'm making is I don't think that Nintendo is going like, oh, we have to think about how the consumers are going to see us. We have to think about, we have to be consumer forward. They're thinking about like, hey, look at this Pokemon garbage that we keep selling people and they keep fucking buying it, these goddamn idiots, bro. I'm gonna charge them $80 for Super Mario Kart. Fucking watch me. And shit, if they want the physical version, I'll charge them more and watch them buy it. And they will. And they will. Is it like, I want people to understand, people will buy this. This is not going to fail. It's going to be the complete opposite. This is going to succeed. Okay, there's another article that we have to bring up at some point. I actually don't even think you put it in there, which is the Star Citizen thing, which we'll talk about later. But Star Citizen is one of my
bro. The Star Citizen. How can we forget? It's our favorite. Back again with.
No, but we'll talk about that later. But what I'm saying is, Star Citizen is the perfect example that we as a community have very little self-control. Like, we will buy things regardless of whether or not they're worth it, regardless of whether or not we should. We will buy things against our own interest. It's just a fact of life, okay? This is the reason why we keep getting fleeced by a lot of the AAA corporations, stuff like that. And Nintendo is just like going complete mask off and saying, yup, we're going to charge you $450 for the console, or $500 if you want to pack in Super Mario Kart World, and we're going to charge you $90 fucking dollars for the physical version of Super Mario Kart World. And guess what? You're going to fucking buy it. And the other thing that they had the gall to say in the interview that I saw was when Doug Bowser just goes, we're going to look at every video game and we're going to judge each video game individually. There is no pricing standard anymore, and we're just going to decide how much each game is worth. Guess how much the next Zelda is going to cost, bro? And this is not a part of the interview. This is just speculation on my part. But the next Zelda is going to cost $100.
Oh, yeah,
it's just that simple. Because nobody cares. If they can get away with it, they will get away with it. Yeah. And what is going to happen is they're basically going to price a lot of people out of the hobby, and piracy is going to once again grow rampant. Because as Gabe Newell has stated, piracy was a service issue, and Steam largely solved that service issue.
Yeah.
But people are like, no, we need to bring this service issue back. You're going to see a lot more people pirate and emulate video games. It's just that simple. And you can't even argue against it at this point, because look, if you're going to price people out of the hobby, they're going to find different ways of, indulging in the hobby. It's just that simple.
I feel like in this instance, it's actually good for us to merge another topic in here, because it was just going to be like a fleeting mention. But since you're talking about the pricing issue here, Ubisoft and the Crew lawsuit, where they're absolutely just doubling down, saying you don't own your games. It's exactly the same thing. What happens now is, as the prices keep going up, I mean, we have so much evidence of this. Steam has released the evidence. In countries, once Steam introduced regional pricing, piracy went down in the countries that had regional prices, and games started making more money as a result of regional pricing. Because obviously, I live in South Africa, for example. In South Africa, $60 is not the equivalent of $60 in Europe or $60 in America. It just isn't. When you factor in that the overwhelming majority of South Africans live on between $500 and $1,000 a month, $60 is a shit ton of money for a game. So what happens in South Africa is a lot of games. You'll note, however, that Square Enix games don't follow this. They don't do regional pricing, even on Steam. But a lot of games do have regional pricing. So I managed to pick up games sometimes for something like $10 that's supposed to be a $25 game. They still make a shit ton of money in South Africa, because people can afford to buy that. They can't necessarily afford to buy the $50 or the $60 game. And what's going to happen here is just piracy. The more you price the game, so if you go for $70 or $80, you are pricing certain people out of the market. Like, look, I'll tell you guys this, as a former enjoyer of the high seas, right? Living in South Africa, we had super bad internet, so it was oftentimes very difficult to get games, to get hold of games, to, specifically deal with games that constantly want to update, because updates wouldn't just be like an hour issue. It would sometimes be like a half a day issue. I would sail the high seas and grab all my games. It's not fun. High sea games come with a massive amount of trouble. If you want to update a high seas game, you have to go find the update that is compatible with your download. It's not that easy to get. You have to hope that this version of the crack works. If it doesn't work, you have to find a bunch of other cracks. There's nothing fun about pirating. Very few people pirate because they think this is the most amazing way to play video games. People pirate when they quite physically cannot get the games officially, or when they can't afford it, and they're forced to go the pirate route. So it's actually something that I haven't even considered yet until you just said it. What Ubisoft is doing, what Nintendo is doing, is going to lead to a crazy amount of pirating.
Because I mean, the Ubisoft thing in particular, it's like, if Ubisoft's coming in and saying, actually, you don't own your games. Now, we all know that we don't own our games, because it's kind of like an implicit thing. If you actually read EULAs, it specifically says you don't own it. You own a license to play this video game.
Yeah.
But the reality is, number one, that's just, some bullshit you fuckers wrote on a paper so that you can kind of get away with taking games away from people. And there's always been this implicit understanding that, like, listen, if I buy a physical game, I own this game. Yeah. I own this disc. I don't own the rights to, like, resell your game and, you know, strip out the code and do all of these things, which I think is the spirit of what the EULA is supposed to do. Is actually supposed to be like, okay, you don't own the code. You don't get to, like, extract this code
you
and
didn't
then
just
change it
buy
slightly.
The IP. Your exactly. $60 didn't just give you the ACIP.
I almost feel like that is the spirit of the EULA. It's kind of like, okay, we just put this in here so that you have the game, but
it is still my game.
Commercially, it is still our game. You can't fuck around with it.
Yeah.
But the reality is it shouldn't be like that. Okay, like you shouldn't like. There's copyright laws that prevent you from fucking
reselling
copy pasting. Doing that shit. But like, there should be an understanding of like, listen, I buy this game. This is my fucking game. You can't take it away. Not only that, but there should also be an implicit understanding that you should put in a good faith effort where if your game is mostly playable single player, when the servers come down, you should put in a good faith effort to preserve your fucking video game, because video game preservation is important. Now, when it comes to Ubisoft slop, I'm going to be real. I don't give a fuck if you preserve Ubisoft games, because they're fucking slop anyways, apart from the original Assassin's Creed trilogy and like maybe one or two more Assassin's Creed. Most of their shit is fucking slop.
The original Far Cry was also really good back in the day.
Far Cry 3 was good. I liked Far Cry 3.
Yeah.
The fucking... The bad guy, that was really good. Have I ever told you the definition of insanity? But so it's like most of their shit is slop. But regardless of that, if somebody bought it, that's their game.
Yeah.
And you need to stop saying it's not our game. But anyway, this coupled together with Nintendo and all of this stuff that they're doing, it is pricing a lot of people out of the hobby, and a lot of people are going to go sail the high seas. Yeah. Now, another point that I want to bring up. I am somewhat invested in the Switch ecosystem because, like I told you, I've mentioned multiple times, it is one of the few consoles that seemed like they were still caring about physical media. So I bought quite a few cartridges. And, it was always with the understanding that, like, eventually they're going to put out a stronger version of the Switch. And then I'll be able to use this physical library that I've purchased on this more powerful Switch console with better hardware, and I will get better performance. No.
No, not really, no.
No, that's not how it works. No. See, here's how it's going to work. And this is the thing that is like even more frustrating for, like, listen, the price of the console, somewhat frustrating, but I can kind of tolerate it because at the end of the day, I don't know how powerful the hardware is.
It's actually not bad.
I still don't know.
I saw charts where they were sort of tasting the GPU and sort of performance of the Nintendo Switch, and it creams the Switch One. Like, it is a lot. It's not as powerful as any of the other sort of Steam Decks and stuff like that, but it is good.
It's not as powerful as the Steam Deck?
I'm using Steam Deck just sort of as a broad category here. I don't know if the Steam Deck, I think it's the ROG Ally, the newest one. There's one new handout that just came out like maybe 4 months ago. I think we spoke about it. Lenovo something. It's not the Ally, but it's the Lenovo one. That's the newest one. And it's probably not going to be as powerful as the Steam Deck 2. Right, because things
but it's more powerful than the Steam Deck because the Steam Deck is old by now. So
it will probably be a little bit more powerful than that, but it's not bad in terms of hardware.
So, but that's the thing that I was going for, right? I don't know exactly what the hardware is, what it's going to feel like. So $450, whatever. I'm willing to. Okay, yeah, fine. The other consoles cost $500, whatever the fuck. We can figure this out. I can kind of like see that one. The increase in prices in the video games to $80, no, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. I'm not even gonna try to argue about that. But the one thing that I was more like, oh, I can grab these games, and then these games will take advantage of the better hardware, and they go like, nah, you're gonna pay us $10, and I'm just like, I'm gonna do what now? Yeah, you want access to that stronger hardware that you just purchased, that's going to cost you. That's going to cost you a pretty penny. And I'm just like, no, dude, that is fucked up. Like, listen, I've already paid you for the better hardware. I've paid for it. Game. Yeah, and I bought the game. Yeah. Just make the game run better in the better hardware. This shouldn't even be like a conversation that we need to have. This should just be straight up expected. Like, dude, stop. And by the way, I know that some people are going to say, well, PlayStation does it too. Yeah, and I gave him shit over that too.
Yeah, I mean,
I even said fucking Horizon Zero Dawn didn't need to be remastered to begin with because it's a beautiful game already. It just needs, like, up-res the textures, whatever the fuck.
To be fair, when we talk remasters, and I know this podcast is a little bit all over the place, but I just found out that it's 100% true. Last of Us remake in the works, complete edition. It's all coming. You have these games that just keeps getting remade, and you're like, dude, this game is barely 5 years old. What the hell are we doing? Like, I get you wanna remake Baldur's Gate 1? Go for it. That game is almost 2 decades old. Obviously, it needs a remake. Dragon Age Origins, let's do this. That game barely even runs on modern day hardware. But this is not an old game. You cannot call this a remake. This is barely a patch, bitch. Like, this is a patch. It's a graphical overall patch, or not even an overall. It's an upgraded patch. And you're charging me money for it. It is disgustingly. And just because I hate when people do this. Oh, but they do it, so what, can Nintendo not do it? They shouldn't be doing it either. Like,
exactly.
It's not like
it's wrong. It's wrong when the other ones did it, and it's wrong when they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's wrong on both sides. Like, why can't we not even agree on that? Because people like making everything be about the fucking console war. So it's like, well, Sony are scumbags. Yeah. And I'm like, so what? So Nintendo can be scumbags too? Is it what the fuck? What are we talking about? What are we arguing for?
Yeah.
And then this is the thing. This is the thing that really pisses me off. I want to really express this, which is like, listen, you want to buy a Switch 2? It's your money. You do whatever the fuck you want. Okay. Yeah. You want to buy $90 Super Mario Kart World? It's your money. You should. Yes, absolutely. You buy that. Buy the Bonanza thing, buy whatever I'm not going to criticize anybody if they want to go buy a Switch and buy the games and do whatever.
Yeah.
What I will criticize is when the same people go out of their way, they need to go out of their way to justify their purchase. They need to be like, no, I bought it, but it's fair. It's like, no, it's not. Shut up.
Yeah.
And then they start going about, inflation's like, motherfucker, when did you become an economist? You know jack shit about inflation. Shut the fuck up.
There's so many issues with
I'm just like,
argument,
bro, just it pisses me off when people start pulling these things out of their ass, going like, well, back in like 1995, like games were costing $60 or whatever the fuck. You know how much that translates to nowadays and blah, blah. And it's like, yeah. Guess how big the gaming market was in 1995, you fucking absolute moron.
200 million
God, bro.
That was the gaming industry in 1995. 200 million people. Between 150 and 200 million people. Overall. Okay. That's everyone, including...
It's a good thing we have
players.
the stats.
Including arcade players, by the way. That wasn't people who owned their consoles. This was also people who went to arcades. 150 to 200 million. Today it's 3.2
since you have the stats...
billion. Just so people.
It's a little bit bigger. It's
a little bit bigger.
A smit. Yeah, the market's just a little bit bigger. It's just not by much. Just
a couple of billion.
Just a couple of billion more people. So it's like inflation. Your inflation is the inflation of Nintendo's penis in your fucking mouth. God. Bro, I'm so sick of people trying to justify, and then they're like, I mean, look at the price of groceries. They're increasing as well. And I'm just like, yeah, guess what? Nobody wants that either. And people actually have to buy groceries or they'll fucking die.
Yeah. What I would like to say is, I understand the inflation argument for, this is why I'm not against the price increase for the Switch. Or the Switch 2. Because inflation would impact the Switch. Every single component in the Switch would be slightly more expensive. Do I think it's $150 more expensive? No, because the $150 does not track with inflation. The increase that $150 from $300 is I think almost 3 or 4 times what inflation is. Right, so it's way higher than what it should be. But I can still go, okay, fine. You want to charge that, go for it. But inflation would not impact games in the same way, because one of the key problems that everyone has is that salaries have not kept up with inflation. The biggest price of making a video game is the salaries of the people being paid to make the video game, especially in something like Mario Kart World. Unless, of course, you're going to sit here and pretend like they're doing motion capture in Mario Kart World, and they're using all this incredible technology to capture the cars in ultra realism. Like, that's all just animation done by actual animators sitting there and animating this shit. So, and salaries have not gone up with inflation. So the game should technically not be that much more expensive.
That's the other argument that I love hearing from people when they go like, I mean, don't you want the developers to make more money? And it's like,
they don't.
Yes, I do. I want them to make more money. Guess what?
They're not.
Guess who's going to see all of that fucking money that you're paying extra in games? Here's a tip: not the fucking developers.
Exactly.
They're not going to see a fucking cent.
No, because all of these companies are publicly listed. They have zero reason to give money. This is where I think a lot of people just sort of don't understand what goodwill looks like and what good companies look like. For example, Steam is a company where you could make that argument. I'm going to support Valve because I want to support the developers. Because Gabe Newell owns, I believe, 51% of Valve. The other 49% is owned by the developers. Every single developer that works at Valve owns a part of that company. So by the end of the year, when they give out bonuses, you're getting paid for the money that Valve made. So yeah, there the argument is. I guarantee you that the lowly animator that worked on Mario Kart World is not getting the bonus at the end of the year. The investors are getting the bonuses at the end of the year, in the form of dividends and shit. That's how that works, not the developers. Yeah. So that argument doesn't even fly in this regard. And then I feel like the one problem that I have with Nintendo fans, but it's not just Nintendo fans. It's this sort of thing. Where is the line for you? Because I don't think you have a line. A lot of people in the gaming industry, their line appears to be sort of made of rubber bands. No matter how far the company goes, they'll just follow. And what you don't seem to understand is you have the power to change it. If you don't buy Mario Kart World at $80, they will drop the price. They have
but that's to. The problem. The problem there is the fact that, unfortunately, the way that it works is a large portion of the gaming community is not up to date with gaming discourse. They're not. Yeah. They're not like, because imagine that this circle that I'm forming with my hands right now, right? This circle is the entirety of the gaming community.
Yeah.
The amount of people that actually watch gaming content and, are somewhat informed about what is going on would be like, I can't even represent it because it would be so small on this scale. So it would be like
I happen to have some statistics on this for you as well. Now,
oh, nice. We got all the stats today.
I haven't looked up most recent stats, but this was during my WoW days where I was making a video about the online discourse that you sometimes see versus, and this was a few years ago, it's like 5 years ago. But 5 years ago, the stats looked as follows. Of all gamers that play any video game, around 30% of those gamers are online. So these would be people that would watch guides on YouTube or watch some
30%?
kind of videos. About 30%, but it gets smaller because of the people that actually like super partake in that, right? So they're like in it. They don't just, because the 30% includes literally most people who just go watch one guide. I don't know how to get steel. Let me quickly go check. So that's like 30%. Other people just figure it out. They just keep playing until they figure out where to get the steel from, right? But of that 30%, the portion that is mega involved in this, so they sort of follow everything about it, is 10% of the 30%. Roughly 10%
yep.
to 30%. So you can imagine.
That sounds more accurate.
It's a very small percentage that actually type on forums, make posts on forums.
Yeah.
Really get involved in YouTube communities. That's 5 years ago. It may have grown a little, but I don't think
it's grown. It's not going to be exponentially. But so basically the point that I end up making is that you're saying that we have the power. Unfortunately, we don't, because a large majority of people have no idea what the fuck is going on. They just see the price increase and they're like, yep, guess I'm paying $90 for Super Mario Kart World for little Timmy tomorrow. Well, that's too bad. Better put some money aside.
I do think once you get to $80, $90, even those normies are going to be like, oh, this is a big investment. This is big. You know, now we're getting to like, this is real money now. You know, you can still make an argument that $60, while it is money, you can sort of justify 60, 70.
The thing is, it also hasn't been 60. It hasn't been 60. It's been 70 for a good long while.
Yeah, but
now.
Not for Nintendo. Nintendo games has been sort of cheaper.
No. Like, no. I'm pretty sure that Tears of the Kingdom was already 70.
Yeah,
I bought that
more like
on release, and it was €70.
But I mean more like all of their games. Like the majority of their games is sort of like $59.99. That's why a lot of people were sort of upset, because this isn't just a $10 jump. It's literally a $20 jump for Mario Kart World, because the previous Mario Kart was $59.99, I think.
I mean, yeah, but the previous Mario Kart was also the Mario Kart that came from the fucking Wii U. It's literally a port of the Wii U game with some added tracks and shit. Like you didn't know this? The Mario Kart that's on the Switch is the same Mario Kart that was on the Wii U. It's literally the same game.
I didn't know this, but it tracks with everything I know about this company. Everything I know about this company. Dude, I found so many things just ridiculous. So the chat button, the C button, 10 minutes of the entire live stream, we invented a brand new button.
You know what?
A C button.
You know what the C button stands for? It stands for cunt.
I wouldn't be surprised. Because if you click it, you feel like an absolute C word.
Exactly.
Because it's, as soon as you click it, it goes, hey, this button only works if you subscribe, by the way. Like, drop the moolah and you can use this button. Otherwise,
it goes to a paywall. It'll pause your game and go to a paywall, which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that is exactly what you like to see, you know. So you have the C button that is behind a paywall, just absolutely disgusting. And even that button isn't really required, because as you said the other day, you can literally just hold the home button and it'll take you to the menu and you can still do all of that
exactly.
stuff. So, you know, Nintendo, but now watch Nintendo disable the home button function, so you can no longer do it with the home button to force you to pay the subscription so that you can mute.
The funny part is, if you go to Xbox, you can go on the Xbox Party System.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have Xbox Live. Well, if you go to PlayStation, you can go to the PlayStation Party System, even if you don't subscribe to PlayStation Plus.
There's a reason.
If you go to Nintendo, you can't even chat with people if you're not subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online.
But you realize,
however, in their defense, Switch Online is a fraction of the price of the other services.
Yeah, but
or at least it was. They might be updating it.
What is the other services cost? So what's PlayStation's, for example?
I don't know the exact prices. Back when I used to have Plus, I paid about, I think, $60 a year to have PlayStation Plus. And I'm assuming that I think Xbox is probably comparable.
I think they did say Nintendo, like, the subscription is going to be $10 a month for baseline subscription for the because there's 2 tiers. And then the other one is going to be more expensive than 10 a month, I think.
Because
I'm not sure.
The Nintendo Switch Online is like $20 a year or something like that.
Just Jake, maybe it was per year. Maybe I just saw the number and I didn't see that it's per year because I think I saw a number during the live stream, but I could also be completely wrong about that. So don't take my word for this.
So right now, PlayStation has 3 different tiers. So the Essential, which is just multiplayer modes and a couple of monthly games.
Which is bullshit, by
the way. 71, holy shit, 72 euros. This is Portugal prices. I'm not going to look prices in other places, but let's say $70 yearly for the Essential. Then if you go for the Extra, which also gives you game catalogs. Oh, it says Ubisoft Plus Classics. Oh, fantastic. Oh, wow. I'm sure that's lovely. That's 126 euros. Then if you go for the premium, that's 152 euros, which has like a bunch of stuff and streaming. Yeah, per year. Then if we go to, let's say, Xbox Live, let's see if I can get the pricings on that as well.
Should be Game Pass.
Well, actually...
Right?
Yeah, it should be Game Pass. You own that. How much does that cost?
Well, mine regional pricing wise is about 10 buckaroos, not even per month.
Per month, so that'll be like 120 a year.
Maybe $100.
Let's say,
Ultimate is a bit
probably more expensive in other places, I would imagine.
I think Ultimate is $19.99 for like the full package, although you don't really need Ultimate, but you can if you want to because they give the same. But Ultimate is $19.99, I think.
Yeah, it says $19.99 for Ultimate. Yeah,
regional is different.
And then,
I pay cheaper for that.
Let's see, Nintendo Switch Online prices. That one goes for Nintendo Switch Online individual membership. Yeah, it's I'm seeing the price in pounds. It's 17 pounds. Like I said, it's about $20.
About $20 per year. Yeah, but even that, I mean...
But then they have the expansion pack, which is the one that I find hilarious when people say, oh, but the game upgrades are free if you're subscribed to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. And I'm just like, do you understand how stupid you have to be? Like, just the level of mental gymnastics that you're doing when you say that something is free if you have a subscription. Like, I just want somebody to acknowledge that level of mental gymnastics, okay? I told people in my chat yesterday, this would be the same thing as me telling you, hey, I'm making a members only video tomorrow. But the good news is you can watch it for free if you have a membership.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's so dumb, dude. It's so fucking dumb.
Yeah, but
God,
dude, the free, let me not do this because that will take us into real world politics. But it's like when people say free healthcare, and it's like, okay,
it's free if you own this subscription. It's free if you own the Nintendo Switch Online and the expansion pack.
If you pay them, it's free.
Which I think that
like on my Steam, I can play all of the games in my library for free, like whenever I want. I just had to pay for it first, but now it's free. You just have to
buy them.
You know, like if we're just by those rules, everything in life is pretty free.
So I'm actually looking at the US prices. The Switch Online plus expansion pack, it's $50 a year.
Okay.
And the regular Switch Online is just $20. Yeah. And then there's a family plan, which is $35 for regular Switch Online and $80. I don't know how many people this is for, but I think it allows you to share with a bunch of people, up to 7 other people. So 8 total people can use all the functionality of the Switch Online. That's actually cool.
That's actually a much better price.
That's actually a fucking good deal. Yeah, if you get 8 people to share the fucking thing with, that's actually a pretty fucking good deal.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point we're gonna have to start talking about the fleecing of multiplayer bullshit. The fact that consoles are still charging people to play multiplayer is disgusting to me. Because you don't have that on PC. No game comes out with like when you buy Call of Duty, they're not charging you an extra 10 buckaroos a month if you want to do multiplayer.
No, wait.
That's just baked into it.
I have a little something to add in there.
Okay.
You don't have that on PC yet.
I think so. One of the reasons I'm not, I get what you're saying, and it might eventually come, but I feel like the culture on PC is such that would kill your game immediately. Like if any game, the first game to try and do that would just die because PC gamers would just immediately. It's sort of like so.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, here's how I think about it. The console exclusivity battle is something that even console Andes defend. Like, you get people who's genuinely upset that Sony wants to make their games more available because they're like, no, these are our games. We shouldn't be giving it to other people.
I call those people fucking morons.
Yeah. But console Andes tend to defend their exclusivity bullshit. When Epic tried this exclusivity bullshit, gamers just outright said, well, then I won't play the game. It's fine. All I have to do is install another client, which is free. I'm not going to be charged for this client, but I guess I will not because I have Steam. If it's not on Steam, screw you. Right? So PC game culture will probably just reject that.
We should also say that what you're saying is correct, but at the same time, if a game was Steam exclusive, nobody would give a shit.
No.
Let's just be real. True. Nobody would care. No. They're just like, yep, sounds good.
And this sort of gets into the whole, dude, we're so all over the place here today. Because it also gets into the conversation about South of Midnight. And I'm not going to talk about South of Midnight right now. We'll get to that. But we've seen it now with quite a few games that's been coming out in the last, Dragon Age the Veilguard, Assassin's Creed Shadows, now South of Midnight, where you have this group of people that continuously pretend like Steam charts don't matter. Just because a game isn't performing on Steam doesn't mean it's not a brilliant game because it is on console and it's also on all of these subscription services. And it's like, bitch, let's talk math here. The total user base of Xbox Game Pass is 35 million, and that's the biggest gaming subscription service in gaming. The other subscription services don't even come close to that. Steam has 200 million, I think, daily active players or weekly active players. 200 million active players. That's not the full user base of Steam. That's just people who actively play games at any one point in time on Steam. So when you want to talk about if a game doesn't perform on Steam, it's not indicative because the game happened to be on Ubisoft's subscription service or whatever. It's like, dude, please, if everyone on Ubisoft's subscription service played it, it's still a failure. There's barely anyone subscribed to it. If you have probably, if you were,
but what about the 3 million people playing Shadows?
Well, I did the math breakdown on this for a guy.
Engaging with Shadows.
Dude, I spoke to the absolute most moronic person this week that defended this exactly. He said, dude, 300 copies sold. And I was like, first, they never said copies sold. But even if, let's use your math and your idiocy, let's say it sold 3 million copies. Okay, that gives you $210 million. If they get to keep the whole 70 buckaroos that they charge for the game.
Which they don't.
There's about, you get 40 to maybe 60% out at the end after all of the platform fees and stuff have been deducted. But let's say you keep everything. That's 210. The game's been in development for nearly 5 years. It had over 3,000 developers. Just the little delay that they had on it cost them over $20 million. So that game cost well over 250 mil. The marketing on that game is another 200 to 500 mil because that's what blockbuster games pay for marketing. This game is nowhere close to breaking even. Even at 3 million copies sold, it is an objective failure.
Oh, yeah.
Even if 3 million copies were sold, which it wasn't, but even if, right? So it's just this, dude, let me not even get into this because I am going to lose my shit over these subscription service Andes. And I have Game Pass. There's nothing wrong with Game Pass. It's really good to test out games and to sort of see whether or not I want to own the game on Steam. So that's why I have Game Pass, so that I can buy it on Steam if I like it. So I have nothing against Game Pass, but to make the argument that Steam is in any way, shape, or form in competition with Game Pass is moronic. It just isn't even close to reality.
The one thing that I would point out is that Steam charts doesn't always speak to the quality of a game, which is something that it's just like the way that you said it almost made, and I know you didn't mean it that way, but I just want to clarify it for people. So it doesn't. But in terms of determining how popular a game is or how successful the game has been from a financial standpoint, it absolutely is a very important data point.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it released on Game Pass or if it's a part of PlayStation Plus or whatever the fuck else you want to say. Steam charts are going to be a very accurate reflection of how successful the game is being on every platform. It is not going to be like you have one look at a Steam chart and you know exactly how successful the game was.
No.
But it is an extremely good indicator of the level of success and the level of adoption that you will see on other platforms.
Even with games that we know for a fact are far bigger on console, they still perform reasonably well on Steam charts, like FIFA, right? FIFA is massive on console. Most people play on console.
Yeah, most people play it on PlayStation.
Yeah.
At least in Europe, most people. And I say in Europe, it's like Europe is probably one of the only markets that matters for FIFA. Let's just be real. Like, there's not that many people playing FIFA like in Japan or in the United States.
Yeah.
They play Madden in the United States. So, yeah, FIFA is absolutely going to be mostly played on PlayStation.
Yeah, but even here, if you look at the 24-hour peak for FC25 on Steam charts, it's 66,000, right? Yeah. That's still 6, and it's after quite a bit of it being out. Its all-time peak is 108,000. And like I said, we know that this game is massive on the console, far bigger than what it is on PC. We know this because EA reveals these numbers when they do their yearly or their quarterly breakdown, financial breakdowns, but it's still performing. So if you're going to make the argument, but South of Midnight is super popular because it's on the Xbox Game Pass, it only has 1,400 players on Steam charts. It's a failure. I guarantee you. If only 1,400 people on Steam played that game, barely anyone played it on the Game Pass. It is not shipping because you are right. It's not an indication of the quality of a game, but it is the indication of the popularity of a game. The only time that breaks down is when it gets to super exclusives, right? So something like an Epic Game exclusive or even a PlayStation exclusive. And even there, if a PlayStation game is popular enough, it blows up on Steam the second it launches on Steam. Even if it's a year later, you'll see that game get mass players because PC gamers will support what's good, and they do support it on Steam. The Nintendo stuff, to bring us all the way back. So you have the chat button that's hidden behind a paywall. Then I just found out, if this article is to be believed, that the GameCube controller thing that you can buy to play GameCube games on, it's a special... It only works with the GameCube games. You can't use that controller for any of the other games. If it's not one of those GameCube emulator games.
I've heard that was misreported.
I saw the article.
I've heard that you can use the controller on pretty much anything that supports USB. That's the latest update that I've seen on that is that apparently it can be used on anything that supports a USB. But again, I haven't looked too deeply. Here's the thing: I wouldn't look too deeply into that because I don't want to use a GameCube controller anyways. That thing looks like some alien technology bullshit. Okay, like, I'm sorry. I know that a lot of people swear by the GameCube controller. I look at that thing and I'm just like, that's just some fucking alien technology, dude. Yeah. It's got like extra shit. No, I don't want it.
I just remember seeing so many posts in the last few days of all of the things and the functionalities of this Switch and the games hidden behind secret paywalls, also the secret things that you have to do in order to get access to it. And I just look at this company and I go, okay, you're charging $450.
You want to know?
Not for the
You
want
to know
experience.
the big one? You want to know the big one that I linked it to you? This is a good one, which is, so Zelda Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition does not include the paid DLC.
Yeah.
So Zelda Breath of the Wild included this DLC that added a hard mode and added like an additional 4 big quests, which were for each of the 4 dudes. So like, wait, I have the thing. These dudes, you might not know of them, obviously, but like it was these dudes. This is my favorite one. He's Daruk. Look at him. He's a fucking badass. Okay, he's the coolest Zelda character, Daruk.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's one quest for each of the 4 main dudes that you kind of play. You go do their dungeons and shit, and none of that is included on the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which is not like Nintendo said it would be. But I mean, bro. This is a game that came out fucking literally 8 years ago. It came out 8 years ago. You're making a new version with improved visuals and all of this stuff to run on the Nintendo Switch 2, and you couldn't be bothered to include the fucking DLC, bro? Like, actually? Like, what the fuck? Like, Jesus. It's absolutely insane. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand it, but you know.
Someone made this comparison. I literally just scrolled Reddit and I saw this comparison. Switch 2, $499.99, $80 to $90 for games, paid online subscription, pay even for introduction demo. Nintendo almost never lowers their game prices. Steam Deck, $399. Steam sales, no online subscription fees, 90% off games. Emulate also console games. Add your own retro games to Steam. Desktop mode. Do anything like PC. It's like, dude, what are we talking about here? But of course, it's the ecosystem. It's the fact that a lot of people are mega invested in it. There's a ton of people that own. I watched Angry Joe. I watched his reaction to the Nintendo Switch, and he's mega angry. And the reason he's angry is
his name is Angry Joe.
Yeah. But he's super angry about this purely because he says one of the key things for Nintendo owners is owning those physical games, owning those physical copies. Because it's sort of like it's a piece of pride thing. You want the full, you want a full wall of games behind you, of just Nintendo games going back to the first Nintendo that you ever owned, all the way to now, sort of like a library of everything. Kind of like an investment, it's like people collecting these trading cards and stuff. And now with the Switch 2, seeing that a lot of these games that you bought either requires extra money in order to really play on the better hardware, like you just said there, or a lot of the games that's going to be coming isn't even going to be physical games. It's going to be a cartridge that is effectively just a code.
That's the game key card, and I have a very hot take on the game key card. Well, actually, it's probably not that hot, but my hot take on the game key card is quite simple, and this is something that can work not just for the game key card, but for literally every single physical video game in existence, whether that's from PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, fucking whatever other console you want to bring out, okay? And here's the big take, okay? I just want really every single AAA company to hear me out on this. If your game is not on the disc or on the cartridge or whatever, and it needs some type of bullshit download or activation or whatever other bullshit you want to justify your obnoxious greed with, okay? Here's a hot tip. Don't make a physical version of it, okay? No, literally nobody wants this. I'm telling you, literally nobody in the physical media games market wants that product. Not a single fucking person. Whenever we look at a game and it says requires additional internet connection, blah, 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 nobody wants this. Nobody. Okay? So tell you what, either put the whole game on the disc to the point where somebody can just go in, slap the disc in without having their console connected to the internet and it just fucking works.
Yeah.
Or don't even fucking bother. Okay?
Just
you can take these game key cards. and shove them up your ass, okay? Shove them up your ass. All these fucking game key cards, you can shove them straight up your ass for all we fucking care. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's terrible practice.
It really does seem just like Nintendo actually wants to move away from physical games, but they also want to make money on physical game sales. And so they're doing this pretend, here's some air, pay for it.
The thing is, to be honest, to be completely honest, and so that everybody is also aware, they're already doing this with the Switch 1. It's just they're not calling them game key cards, but that's essentially what they are. There's plenty of games out right now that you can go to a store and there's little blue text below the case on a Switch game, and it will say internet connection required. Like an example of this was The Outer Worlds, I think. The cartridge for The Outer Worlds contains a portion of the game, but you have to download the rest of it. And like that, there's like hundreds, maybe even thousands of other games that is the same thing. You buy the cartridge, but it's like, yeah, you still need to download shit because the whole game is not on here. And it's one thing if it's like, oh, but this game was updated and received these. That's one thing. I'm talking about games that will straight up not run unless you connect them online and download the rest of the game, which is, this should never be a thing. This should absolutely never, ever be a thing. And anybody who says otherwise is absolutely fucking wrong. There's no justification. There's fucking nothing. There's nothing. There's no argument. There's not even a conversation to be had.
But guess
it's just that simple. Nobody wants this.
Guess what? There's going to be people who support this, who defend this.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though a year ago they were the ones bragging, well, at least with Nintendo, we have physical games. And you guys don't have physical games. Now suddenly, well, bro, go cry in the corner because Nintendo can do no wrong. You know? And what you don't seem to realize is the more you support them, the more scumbag they get. Because they know they can. And until people stand up and say, hey, we don't appreciate this scumbaggery, you're going to continue to get scumbag treatment. You know? That's just how it is. Speaking of massive scumbags, and this I already know is there's gonna be people in the comment section going, oh, it's not a grift, bro. It's not a rug pull. This game is so real. You have no idea what you're talking about. Star Citizen just announced that they have now managed to rake in $800 million for this game, which makes it $100 million per year that this game has been in development. Every year they make $100 million.
It's not $100 million per year. It's $100 million per year since 2022. Because
but
they've been in development for 12 years. So they have otherwise there would be 1.2 billion in It's just in the last couple of years they've been making $100 million a year. And this is the perfect example as to why I've been saying people cannot control themselves. And it's funny too, because if you've seen the Asmongold video where he talks to one of the Star Citizen whales and they break it down how Cloud Imperium Games operates, it is one of the most disgusting fucking schemes ever. Did you watch this? This was a while ago.
Tell me about
So you had this guy on who is like one of the guys that's like thousands of dollars invested into this game. And the guy explained that it didn't start like that, right? He just started by buying like the most basic ass version of the game.
Yeah.
But then he started receiving emails from Cloud Imperium Games telling him, like, hey, like, we can make you a deal. How'd you like to upgrade a little bit? They kind of like poke and prod because you buy into the game and you're having fun. It's the alpha version, all that. And they're like, oh yeah, but you can get like this really cool ship when the actual game comes out. And the guy's like, oh sure, that's $100. And then the thing is, then it's $100, but he's much closer to the other tier. So then they go, so it's like, it's not like you're paying $200 to get to the $200 tier, because you can just upgrade your $100 tier into the $200. So it's just $100 more bucks. Right? And then they basically kept edging him on until this guy got to like thousands of fucking dollars. And that's how they do it. And the other thing is also, this is the most hilarious thing. So there are certain packages that you can buy in Star Citizen that are not available to like you or me. So because we're not big spenders in Star Citizen, we can't buy the real high roller packages. Those are like hidden away. And then after you reach a certain spending threshold, they're like, hey, you notice you're one of our high rollers. So I was about this I think it was like $17 pack or some bullshit like that.
Can we show you the to the private table, sir?
Yeah, exactly. It's the private table. Bro, it is and the amount of people glazing this behavior, dude, the amount of people glazing, because the best part to me is whenever I say Star Citizen is pay to win and somebody actually comes out and says, no, it's not. You can get all the ships in the game. And I'm just like, yeah, bro, I'm sure that my $40, which I don't own, by the way, I don't actually have a starter package in this game. I never bought into it. But like, I think that's to get stars like $40 or $30 or however much the fuck it is. And I'm like, I'm sure that Joe Schmo over there that paid $40 for this game is absolutely going to stand a chance if he comes up into Johnny Night Train over there with his fucking $17 space fleet, $17,000 space fleet. I'm sure that the game is balanced in a way where little Timmy with his $40 ship can do just fine if he decides to engage Big Johnny on his fucking superstar destroyer bullshittery. Get the fuck out of here, bro. For me, just get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, what the fuck?
For me, it's just a case of, so the game has been in development for 12 years. They keep adding more and more stuff to develop. And at some point, the question has to be, when is this game launching? And I think it's never launching because they make way too much money on the promise of the launch rather than the actual launch.
You remember that meta that happened a while ago of you'd have these bathtub streamers, except they wouldn't show themselves on camera. They'd have like a counter. They're like, it's only 5 more minutes. It's about to happen. And then they just reset the counter afterwards. They just keep edging people along. It's the same fucking thing. They're just like, oh, guys, we just made a new ship. We made a new ship, bro. You guys got to buy this new ship. Look at this shit. This is amazing. Look at this fucking ship. Get the fuck.
Dude, I honestly think at some point people are going to be, because, dude, if this game was as brilliant as people claim it is, why aren't more people streaming it? Why aren't more people playing it? Because a lot of people tell me, well, look, you can go play the game right now. Well, if it was any
You can play the alpha version of the game right now, yeah.
But if it was good, millions of people would actually be playing it. The fact that millions of people aren't playing it tells me that while, yes, you can run around, you can fly around, you can go to different planets, but is there a game? Because that's not a game. If you just tell me you can fly to different planets, okay, what's the game? What am I actually doing here? What am I doing on these planets?
That is something that it's a little bit harder to get into that because this is very much a sandbox game. So I don't know exactly how this works. I'm just thinking about in terms of like Elite Dangerous and the things that you're saying, like, oh, you can go to planets. And it's like, well, yeah, you can go to planets, you can scan planets, you can make money scanning planets, you can go do trading, you can go kill people, you can do a million different things, but there's still not like a narrative objective for you to like, oh, I have to go do this thing because that's my main quest. That doesn't exist in
I would say
Dangerous.
So at this point it's basically what No Man's Sky was on launch. You can fly around, scan some stuff, collect some stuff, but there was no real purpose to most of it.
It's like it's too hard to explain because not everybody is going to be into it. But like I spent 500 hours doing nothing in Elite Dangerous by that definition.
Well, to some extent, it would depend on what the narrative is of the game, right?
There's no narrative. That's the thing. There's no narrative. There's like an overarching kind of like story that they're trying to tell, but the reality is it's a big sandbox for you to just do whatever the fuck you want.
But that overarching story is actually more important than people think. So, for example, you know me, I'm huge on colony sims. I'm huge on like logistic games, solving puzzles through logistics and stuff. But I hate games that don't have an overarching narrative. Like, there needs to be a reason for me to do all of this stuff. And as long as you have, even if it is a bare bones narrative, right? As long as there is a narrative, I will gladly go around and bolt the shit out of a planet. But if there's no narrative, so there's nothing I'm actually hunting, it is just, I just recently bought a game called Microtopia, which is this game where you're building these ant colonies, right? But it's mostly just sort of optimizing and building out optimized sort of ant trails so that the ants do different things. But there's no real narrative to it. There's no reason for me to do this stuff. I lost interest in 2 hours. Because what am I building for? What am I building towards? So overarching narratives is super important to give people an initial goal and then allow them to discover their own goals as they go, right? So there is, to some extent, some value in this. Maybe because I'm not a big sandbox enjoyer. I hate sandbox games, actually. So maybe, Star Citizen is just never going to be a game for me, which is I'm perfectly happy with. I've been living without it for 12 years. I'm more than happy to go another 12, not play this game. I genuinely think this game is never launching because right now they're making bank on the promise. And if that was what they from the beginning admitted, I would actually not have a problem with it. So people who actually know anything about anything will know Rust is another game exactly like this. Rust has been in early access since its launch, and the developer of Rust has actually come out and said it will never leave early access. This will be a forever early access game because early access gives them the ability to basically overhaul everything as much as they want and just go, well, boys, this is early access. We can make changes. You bought an early access game, except the fact that we're just continuously going to be investing in it and upgrading it and whatnot. If they did that, I would be okay. But obviously, a lot of their packages come with promises of what you'll get when it launches, not necessarily with promises of what you're going to get now. And that is a big issue for a game that I don't think will ever launch.
There's people that buy ships based on their concept art for thousands of dollars, like before the actual asset is even developed, which is just like fucking crazy.
But it is what it is.
I was checking on Twitch, and it's got 2,000 watchers right now. 2,000 people watching it. See, there's people watching it.
Marvelous. I mean, if this was a good game, if this was an actual good game, that number would be much higher. It suggests to me that this isn't a good game. No one is interested in this game, except for the people who are so invested in it, they can't get out anymore. Because if you've dropped a couple of $1,000 on a game, you have to convince yourself this is a good game. You've made a massive investment here.
I guarantee that like there's people who supported this game and they've died before the game came out.
Most likely. I wouldn't be surprised. Most of the people playing it right now will die before it comes out. So,
True.
The developers will die before this game comes out. I hope they have a nice system of replacement because it's going to be forever. Anyways, onto a game that didn't take years and years to develop and didn't launch. This is a game that did, in fact, launch, but maybe it should have gone the way of Star Citizen as well and just not launch because that might have been better for them. We're talking South of Midnight, ladies and gentlemen. Another
Why do you hate South? Why do you hate these people? Jesus, tell me how you really feel.
I hate them because they hated me first. This is the exact same Compulsion Games as the studio where their community manager tweeted out, and this I think people would need to appreciate. One of the tweets that this community manager made was, white and Asian, you mean white adjacent. That is, dude, that's beyond racist. I mean, that is like proper on the nose racism, right? So Asian people are just white adjacent. All Asian people are the same, and they're all just white, effectively. Very nice. But then, to go further, literally tweeted out, "I hate gamers." And then Compulsion Gaming went, "This seems like a good fit for our community manager position." Hired her to be the community manager.
She tweeted out, "I hate gamers."
Yep. I hate gamers. And got the job as the community manager for a gaming company.
That's harsh. It's very harsh.
As a community manager of gamers.
Okay.
It's wild. Right? So I hate Compulsion Gaming because they hated me first.
Okay.
Okay. But South of Midnight is actually a game that we discussed. And I told you, I kind of like the idea. I don't have a problem with the main character. I like the vibe. After seeing a lot of gameplay, I have to say, even just watching it, you get bored within the first hour. And people who played it say the game is good for about the first 20 minutes, and then it gets mega repetitive. Basically, it's the same shit over and over again. So another one of those DI celebrations that came out and completely flopped. 1,400 max players on Steam charts. We already discussed, don't bring me that bullshit of, but it's a Game Pass game. If it failed on Steam charts, it failed on Game Pass. It's also because people don't understand how Game Pass works. Game Pass doesn't work if just a couple of thousand people play the game that's already subscribed to Game Pass. The reason Microsoft is investing billions of dollars into their games is to try and get more people to sign up to Game Pass. So when you have a game that doesn't garner any interest from the community on Steam, it garners no interest from people on Twitch or on YouTube, it's not going to drive subscriptions to Game Pass, therefore game failure. 100%. So Compulsion Games just released another dud. Because they wanted to be political rather than just make... And also, another reason why I hate them, when they were asked about the outrage from the anti-woke crowd, the director of the game said, I haven't seen any criticism that is worthy of responding to. If there's legitimate criticism, I would be happy to respond. And I keep thinking to myself, when I look at the Steam charts, maybe you should have listened to the illegitimate criticism, because this isn't looking good, bro.
I don't know about that, dude. Because like a lot of times, I understand his position. Because like, bro's working on his game. People are coming up with all the culture war stuff, and he's just like, let me just work on my game. Didn't work out. It is what it is. But like I said, this is one of. Go ahead.
So here's what I think game developers need to start realizing. First and foremost, I would have hoped that at this point it would have become clear to people the anti-woke crowd is not as small as people like to pretend it is. Because we have seen failure after failure after failure of games that the anti-woke crowd rejected. So I'm not saying that it's the majority of gamers, but it is a significant number of people that clearly don't want politics in their video games. Developers need to start realizing that your players are adults and you have to treat them as such. If there is people who are outraged by you seemingly focusing too much on diversity, engage with them in good faith and have conversations. Don't just try and educate them, because that's usually what they try and do. They try and educate. Rather than saying, all right, boys, let's see where we can come from this. We absolutely didn't do this because we just needed a black character. This is why we made this decision. Here's why we made this decision. Explain to me why you don't like this decision. Let's see if we can come to an understanding of what you like and you don't like. At least engage with people rather than just outright dismissing them or pretending like they don't even matter. But then, and this is what really grinds my bloody gears, they pretend like we don't matter, we're completely insignificant. Then the game fails, and guess what happens? A week later, there's articles saying the game fails because of right-wing grifters. And it's like, wait, what the... How do we not matter? But then we make the game fail. If we don't matter, we have no ability to make games fail. This annoys me, bro. To no end, it annoys me.
The problem is one of the things that I've been harping on, and people are probably tired of hearing me say it, but the problem is that when people try to engage in the conversation, it often gets derailed by bad actors from both sides. Course. So whether it is someone from one side of the culture war trying to engage with someone from the other side, and then just like some extremist asshole from each of the sides and just like steps in and just like starts shitting all over it, and it gets harder and harder to have the conversation.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And that's why I understand if people don't even want to engage in it. But then again, hiring someone to be your community manager who tweets out, "I hate gamers."
Yeah.
That's probably not like the best decision you could have made.
No.
Okay.
It's definitely not the best decision they could have made. And fundamentally, until game developers realize that your gamers are adults and they're people, and their concerns are the only concerns that should matter to you, because if they don't want to give you their money, you're screwed. The way you make your money is by convincing them to give you their money. So, but the problem becomes, right? Because you're saying like, okay, you need to listen to what we have to say. Okay, listen to who? Because there are bad actors. Like we've even talked about this, how there's a bunch of people claiming that Monster Hunter is woke. Yeah.
So it's like, who can these people listen to? That's the problem.
Well,
because there's too many bad actors in the space on both sides.
Yeah, but
there's plenty of bad actors in the space on both sides.
Yeah, there's okay. So you have fringe voices on both sides, right? Super fringe voices. It's pretty easy to see who those fringe voices are. Yeah, because the fringe voices will just automatically not get as much engagement as the mainstream voices. You look at some of the more super mega extreme creators on the anti-woke side.
You say that.
Yeah.
You say that, but Pirate Nation on his post that was blatantly false about Monster Hunter, comparing Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate from the Switch, claiming that it was the 3DS version with a Wilds version running on some shitty-ass hardware with a camera facing a fucking tent, got thousands of engagement. And it was a lie.
That's
fine. It was a straight up lie.
Yeah, but Pirate Nation, the reason I wouldn't use Pirate Nation for anything is Pirate Nation farms everything. Like, not just games.
Yeah, of course.
If you look at his post, like, he farms everything.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So there,
I know, but
that's
the problem.
I would focus on...
But you're saying these accounts, these fringe accounts don't get engagement, and I'm telling you, yes, they do.
Yeah, no, but Pirate Nation will get engagement because he engages with everything. So his community isn't just gamers. His community isn't just, it's like everyone, right? Like, and I sometimes sort of wonder there might be some paid interference there as well, because they keep...
Sure.
But
again, it just muddies the waters even more when you're saying that we need to have a dialogue, and I'm just like, but you can't have a dialogue. The current culture does not allow for a dialogue. I
don't agree, because first and foremost, it is the job of the community managers to figure out who is worthy of engagement and who isn't. If you want to decide, and I have no problem with this, by the way, if you want to decide, look, I'm just engaging with the left, I don't care about the right, no problem. But then don't blame us afterwards. You see, this is my pet peeve. I don't care that South of Midnight failed. I celebrate it. I'm very happy. I hope Compulsion Games goes bankrupt. That's genuinely, I couldn't be happier, right? Please make all of the DI slop you want.
That's
keep going bankrupt, right? Like, I couldn't give two shits. It doesn't even make me angry that the game failed. In fact, we laughed about it yesterday on stream. It was super funny. Thinking of all those woke developers losing their jobs makes me happy. So fundamentally, I couldn't care less. But then don't blame me afterwards for your failures. You didn't want me to play your game in the first place. You said this isn't for you, and if you don't like it, don't buy it. I followed, and I didn't buy it. Now, suddenly it's my fault the game failed. You didn't want to engage with me beforehand, because I could have told you this is bullshit. Don't blame me afterwards then. You wanted to make this game for the modern audience that doesn't exist because they keep not showing up for games. And then when the modern audience doesn't show up, suddenly I get blamed for that. And dude, it got so exposed so exposed. A lot of these bloody woke adjacent people. We have some of them even in our community. When I tweeted out
did we go from white adjacent to woke adjacent?
Yeah. There's a couple of people who sort of pretend to be more balanced, right? They're on the side of woke, but they're more pretending to be balanced. Engaged with me on my post, making fun of South of Midnight. And I immediately had like almost 5 or 6 people in my comments on X just glazing the game, saying how I'm a grifter for calling out the game's numbers because the game is only in early access and how bad the game is. And I followed the conversations.
Wait, does it have early access?
It had early access where it already failed and then it released and it failed even more. So,
you know what?
Yeah.
I'm beginning to celebrate a little myself.
There you go.
Early access bullshit.
But
and by the way,
and I maybe
before people start railing, because some people might be like, "Well, PoE 2 is an early access." It's a completely different thing. I'm talking about the early access of when the game is complete, and then they sell like the deluxe edition.
Yeah,
and you can get early access to it by 3 to 5 days.
Yeah,
I can't fucking stand that.
Yeah, that's bullshit because it's not early access; it's late access for everyone that doesn't want to pay
for everybody
more.
else.
Yeah, for all the poor people, they get to play later. So fundamentally, the game failed, and now I'm looking. It's about 5 or 6 people in my comment section that's defending this game, and I engage and I sort of talk and I talk, and all 5 of these people at one point admit, well, I'm not going to be playing the game, but it still looks good. I'm like, well, here we go. This is the problem. You see, you want to be super woke and progressive, but you won't put your money where your mouth is. Because you too look at that game and go, this is bullshit. But oh, wait, I should be progressive. I should care about LGBTQ bullshit, and I should care about black people and people of color. So I should pretend like this game looks good, even though I will not spend a cent. I will not play this game ever. Shut the hell up. Unless you have actually played the game, and unless you buy every bit of slop that comes out of the AAA industry, I want to see you play Star Wars Outlaws, Dragon Age The Veilguard, South of Midnight, Dustborn. I want to see you play those games regularly. Unless you can prove that, shut the hell up. You have no right to speak about anything because the grifter here is you. Because I at least have the integrity to say, this is bullshit. I'm not giving my money for it.
Did you play it?
Why would I play a game that looks like ass? I hate this argument as well. If you haven't played it, you can't comment on it.
No,
I haven't eaten shit before either. No, right? But wait, and I know I don't like shit.
Wait, but you just said that these people can't talk good about the game without playing it, so why are you allowed to talk bad about the game without playing it?
You can't defend the game as if it's a good game if you're not playing it.
But you can attack it?
Well, yes, because I can make a determination and say, this looks shit. I'm not spending my money on it.
And why can't they make a determination that this looks good?
Because the proof that they also think the game is shit is the fact that they're not playing the game.
Listen. I just want to point out. Yeah. I don't care. I'm not invested in this argument. I'm just pointing out what I consider to be a logical failure on your part. Because you're saying I get to say the game is shit without buying it, but they don't get to say the game is good without buying it.
If the game was good, why didn't they buy it?
Maybe they can't afford it. I don't fucking know. I don't know their lives.
If the game was good, why aren't they buying it?
There's plenty of games. There's plenty of games that are good that I haven't bought.
Yeah, no one's buying it though.
Yeah, but
everyone's saying it's good.
If you can,
but no one's buying it.
I just want you to understand something. If you get to attack the game without buying it, they get to say good things about the game without buying it.
No, because there's two different things. If you look at a game,
disagree.
Right? If you look at a game and you see, wait, this looks like ass. I don't want to play this. You are well within your right to say, yeah, I'm not playing this. But if you look at a game, right, and you think, well, not really my type of game. This looks
really good.
Not really my type of game. Not really going to play it. Why are you defending that game when other people say it looks like shit and they don't want to play it? I mean, you have nothing invested in this game, right? Like you don't want to play this game. It has nothing to do with you. So why are you defending it? I'm not going around, for example, attacking people saying that PGA Tour is shit. I don't want to play PGA Tour. I couldn't give two craps whether it's good, bad. If people
so you want to play, so you want to play South of Midnight?
Hold up, I'm explaining to you the whole sequence of logic here, right? Because I have no dog in the race with PGA Tour, because I'm not gonna play PGA Tour, and I have no interest in playing it. I'm also not gonna defend PGA Tour. If someone wants to bash the game, yeah, cool. Who cares? If I go right and I become Mr. Defender for South of Midnight, but then it turns out, well, I'm not actually going to play the game. Wait, why did we just go through half an hour back and forth of you defending this game if you're not even going to play it? In other words, you have no vested interest other than own the chuds. Whatever the chuds don't like, I have to like by default. But you don't like it enough to actually spend your money on it. You won't buy the game because you actually think the game looks like ass. You don't want to play it. You have no interest in playing it. You just need to own the chuds. That's what we call a grifter. That's grifter behavior. Because you are only taking a position.
Are you interested in playing it?
No.
South of Midnight.
Because it looks like ass. It looks like a bad game.
Then why do you care?
I care because the community, I already told you, I care because they decided to attack me. I didn't attack them. I had no interest in their game. I was like, yeah, go do your thing. And then they decided, well, screw you, bitch. Right?
I'm just saying from a logical perspective.
No.
And by the way, I don't care about this in any way, simply because I kind of lost interest in the game when they went for that stop motion non-sensory, which is like, oh, it looks so good at 30 FPS. Look at how pretty it is. And I'm just like, no, it looks like shit. I'm not interested. I don't want to play that.
Yeah.
And I know that they've changed it since then and whatever, but it's like you already lost me because like the game was made with the whole stop motion, blah, 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 whatever. And then the gameplay doesn't even seem that interesting. So it's like, I don't have a dog in this race. I don't care whether it does well, whether it doesn't do well. I have nothing in this race.
I understand that.
All I'm saying is that if you get to attack the game without owning it, because like, for instance, right?
Yeah.
I made a big critique of Veilguard. I played 99 hours of Veilguard before I made my big critique of Veilguard. So it's like I saw everything the game had to offer, and I was like, no, here's what I think about everything that I've seen of this game.
Okay.
But it's like, if you get to attack, and I think you can, you can go and you can attack it. I also think it's fair for other people to defend it, even if they're not going to buy the game.
I'll explain to you in a second why your logic is actually the flawed one. I don't have to eat shit to know that it probably doesn't taste good and I don't want to. But if you come out and you defend eating shit, saying, no, shit is actually perfectly fine to eat, you should be eating shit, but then you go, well, but I'm not going to be eating shit, that's not the same as the guy that looked at the poo right there on the plate and went, not ready for me. Versus the guy that says, oh, you bloody racist, how dare you not eat the poo? Is it because the poo comes from a black person or whatever? Right? But then it turns out, well, then have the poo. And he goes, no, I don't want to eat the poo. I'm just telling you, you're a racist because you don't want to eat the poo. Right? And it's like, wait, that's not the same thing. The logic there, the problem with your logic here is you're suggesting I can't criticize a game for being ultra political, being super diverse.
No, I didn't say that.
No, you're saying
I didn't say that.
No, wait. You're saying I can't do that based on my saying you can't defend it. Right? In my version of the world, where I say if I can criticize the game, but you can't defend the game, that's a logical flaw. I'm telling you.
I said both of you can do what. I said both of you can do it. I said you can attack the game, but if he can defend the game,
but there's no difference. Fair. There's no difference here. If you're saying there's a big difference.
You're charging it by saying eating shit, which is just like poisoning the whole well of the discussion.
Not
just
really.
Like, I don't think that playing the video game can be even remotely close to eating shit.
No, the reason I use
regardless
eating
how
shit,
bad the game is.
The reason I use eating shit is because it's the perfect example of what is happening, right? I'm not saying you can't. You can do whatever you want. You can stick your finger in your ass and break it off. You can do a lot of things. I'm saying the true grifters are the ones who are defending the game, but then will not play the game. They won't play the game, but they will defend it with their lives. They'll call people who criticize the game racists and bigots and every single buzz little word that they can, Nazi or whatever, but then they themselves will not actually spend money playing the game. That is what you call grifting behavior. Because you are running defense for something that you yourself will not play. In other words, you won't do the ultimate defense, which is to take out your money and support this game that you clearly seem to say is a brilliant game. It's perfect. It's everything games should be. But when I say, I don't want to play this. This looks like ass. Why did you make this? You want to attack me for, how dare I say this? I must be a super Nazi racist piece of shit. It's like, wait, hold up. Why aren't you playing the game then? If it is this good and I'm just a racist for not liking it, why aren't you playing it? Or are you just out here trying to own the chuds? In other words, you'll defend literally anything as long as it owns the chuds. Do you truly not see how those are two different positions that don't logically exist on the same playing field?
We have a fundamental disagreement here, and it's like, this is because of the way in which I do things, which is I will rarely criticize a game based on its gameplay without actually experiencing said gameplay. This is just the way that I operate.
But hold up, now I think you're.
I just move. What?
But now you're moving the goalpost a little bit, though, right? Because what you're saying now is, I didn't criticize the game purely on its gameplay. I criticized the game for its DI racist piece of shit making the game, and the evidence there is literally everywhere. Like I have an entire folder filled with the pieces of shit and the things that they said, right? Their community manager made their posts protected because they were getting so much harassment for their racist bullshit, right? So that is what I criticized the game for. The gameplay looking like ass is just the cherry on top. That's just another reason why I think the game is failing. Not the main real
reason. Quick.
Yeah.
Just real quick. My understanding was both of you were arguing on the merits of the video game. You're telling me that you were arguing based on the merits of the DI, whatever the fuck in the video game. I don't care about any of
my
this.
tweet was literally celebrating the downfall of the game. I tweeted out, South of Midnight is clearly a success, and if you don't believe it, you're a racist and a bigot. That was the tweet, right? So doing what they did. Then suddenly, massive amounts of people in my DMs, 5 or 6 people in my DMs, defending this game to the hilt. This is brilliant. It looks so amazing. The story is so amazing. The voice acting is so amazing. And then when you finally drill down to, are you playing it?
Wait.
It's like, no.
Wait, see, I don't want to play it. That's the context. Okay? That is very, very different than because I'm looking at this argument as in okay, so you get to attack the game without playing it. They can't defend the game without playing it. Now you're saying that these people were saying the story is amazing, but they've never played the game. Okay, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, but
that's fucking stupid. Yes, obviously, you can't say the story is amazing, the game is brilliant, but I've never played it. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but this is exactly the point. Yeah, this happened in Dragon Age the Veilguard. This happened with Star Wars Outlaws. This is happening with Dustborn. It's happening with South of Midnight. It happened with Starfield. People saying this game is amazing.
That's the missing context. If people are saying that a video game it's like, I don't care about the fact that they will play it or they won't play it. I care that they haven't played it and they're arguing in favor of the video game story or gameplay or any of these other things. But it's like, if you're just talking from a generalistic standpoint where it's like you look at a trailer and you're attacking the trailer and somebody else is defending the trailer. That's kind of like where I was coming from.
No,
it's that's
a different story.
You both can argue in favor or against the trailer or in favor or against the concept of the video game. What you can't say is the story of the game is amazing. Yeah, the fucking gameplay systems are revolutionary. It's like, have you played it? Nope.
Yeah, but this is the exact point I'm making, right? Is on the one hand, like just looking at two different or a trailer and one person likes it, the other person, that's subjective stuff, right? No one cares there. But if I'm celebrating the downfall of the game and you come in there running massive defense for this game, right? But then will not play the game, well, you're a grifter. Because why are you defending a game that you yourself have no interest in playing? I'm not out there looking at PGA Tour tweets and defending PGA Tour. I don't want to play that game. If someone wants to bash it, I have at it, right? It's not my thing. So that's sort of just my problem is the grifters are the ones calling everyone else grifters. And their games keep failing.
But at the same time, you can also say that there are people that are grifters on your side.
Oh, 100%. So to speak. I've made videos calling out a bunch of people, including Pirate Nation. I believe is a grifter.
But see, this is the problem, and this is one of the main reasons why you don't really see me get involved in this bullshit, is because there's always bad actors on both sides. There's always, which is why to me it's like, no, if I'm getting involved into something on one of these games, like when I got involved into the Veilguard thing, I'm like, I need to see the whole thing. Boom, I see it. I know exactly what is there, what isn't there, and I don't have to rely on any hearsay from anyone or bad actors or good actors. It's like, no, I know exactly what was there because I fucking seen it. But I know it's bad, and I know that I don't like it.
I do think your argument, there's bad actors on both sides, is unbalanced. Why? No one is making games based on the recommendations of the bad actors on the right. The bad actors on the right has no bearing on the quality or the direction of the industry as a whole. The bad actors on the left are currently driving the direction of the games industry. Every single modern AAA game out of the West follows the bad actors on the left and their consistent push for more LGBTQ bullshit, more diversity, equity, and inclusion. They are the ones pushing the games industry. So they are the enemies because they're the ones destroying the games industry.
I'm not following enough Western games to be able to.
That's perfectly fine. I'm just
say anything on that.
I'm just saying, if you're both sides may have bad actors, but only one side's bad actors are currently destroying the Western games industry. It's not the right.
Don't worry. I'm sure it'll shift around at some point.
Yeah, hopefully with the death of most of the AAA industries. That'd be great. If I can watch, oh man, I hope they have cameras. I just want to watch a line of blue-haired woke developers leaving with boxes.
Jesus.
That'd be the most amazing feeling ever. I'm gonna laugh, bro.
God.
I will make a stream highlights clip of that video immediately. It's gonna be super fun. Fundamentally, they're the ones driving the downfall of the games industry. And so they are the ones that need to be fought right now because they're the ones that hold the power. I just saw this. I told you about Schedule 1 last week, right? This game that's made by one person, just a really fun drug dealer simulator, right? You're just dealing drugs. You now have people in the forums of that game screaming about LGBTQ representation because there's no rainbow flags in the game. The people who are screaming in the forums for this LGBTQ stuff don't even own the game. They don't own the game. They're just there to push their politics because they're activists.
Bad actors, like I said, on both sides.
I would say the left is mostly bad actors, but never mind. That we will definitely probably disagree on that. But anyways, to move on, let's talk about more bad actors in the AAA games industry. I showed you a tweet earlier about a new sort of, I guess you could say, gaming system that the AAA industry is engaged in.
I don't know if it's bots or if it's just someone who was dropped in the head as a child and now they just spend time on Twitter writing things weirdly. So I don't know.
I definitely
might be one or the other.
I definitely don't think it's bots. I think what it is, because there's a couple of accounts that I know personally because I see them pop up all the time. and there's a bunch more accounts, but I sort of mute them as quickly as I see them. These are, and you guys can start looking out for this. Whenever a new AAA game launches from the West, you will start seeing these tweets from accounts that goes hashtag the game name, hashtag Xbox, hashtag Game Pass. They have all of these very particular hashtags that's placed. Now, to tell you guys why this is such a big problem, hashtags don't work on X. They literally don't help with engagement or discovery at all. X, in fact, punishes posts for doing hashtags.
I haven't heard of it punishing posts.
Yeah, Elon Musk tweeted like a long time ago. Not punish in terms of they downvote you. It's more punished in terms of it looks bad. So viewers might be less likely to engage with it. So it's not like the algorithm is punishing you. It's more like every single time you see a hashtag, it looks sort of scummy. I don't know why. It gives me this sort of paid for vibe when I see hashtags in a tweet. But the algorithm might punish you because people will be less likely to engage with the tweet.
I know that Elon tweeted about that, and he said, hashtags look stupid. But that's pretty much all he said. He also said that the system no longer prioritizes hashtags. But that's pretty much
it doesn't use hashtags at all, right? He just tweeted out that hashtags will not help you with discoverability at all. In fact, it may hurt it because it looks inorganic. It looks bad. And so viewers might be far less likely to engage. Now, why do some posts still use hashtags? You see,
I still use hashtags.
I don't ever, but I do know why, because I've received, let's say, offers for sponsorship, where one of the questions, this was back when I had my old Twitter account that had over 3,000 followers. There would be people who say, we want 60 seconds sponsorship of the video and a tweet. And then I was given a specific set of hashtags that I had to include in my tweet. This allows them to count impressions and stuff like this because they use the hashtags to categorize stuff. To make sure that I'm delivering on whatever the deliverables have to be there, right? That's the only reason people actually include hashtags. You might get people who include hashtags for fun, right? Or if it's like a specific community hashtag. So the whole community of Wild Monster Hunter decided to do hashtag owned in the ass, right? For some boss that kicks you in the ass or whatever. Then some people will use it just as a funny.
The reason I did it.
Yeah?
The reason I did it is because for the launch of Monster Hunter Wilds, the hashtag MHWilds would have a little palico icon at the end of it.
Yeah, but again, this is sort of a community-specific move, right? So Monster Hunter decided to give the hashtag MHWilds a special little symbol, and now all of the community is using it as a little fun thing. This is not
that's the thing.
About here.
That's what I'm saying. There is a reason to use hashtags.
Yeah, but
you don't
in
have
the way, I mean, when you look at that tweet, right? When you look, sorry, we can't really show you guys this tweet, but when you look at the tweet, it's so inorganic.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, but that's like I said, that person just writes in weird ways. If it's a person, if it's not a bot, it might even be fucking AI.
The issue
so
is,
like, listen, let me tell you one of the interactions I've had on Twitter recently from someone who is just like hardcore right-leaning, like super upset over random bullshit.
Based.
This dude, I guarantee. This dude would put the Twitter interaction onto ChatGPT or Grok, whatever the fuck, and then generate 20 responses. And then he would just type the 20 responses nonstop.
Wow.
Okay. So it's like my mentions were literally unusable because I decided to try and engage with this person in good faith. And bro was just like, bam, bam, bam. Like, I need to take a piss. I go take a piss and there's like 5 notifications. I come back, there's 20. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Like, stop. Like, bro, what is wrong with you?
You get people like this. You get people like that, and that's perfectly fine. So how I know that this is inorganic. You say it might be AI, might be some kind of bot, might be whatever.
Might be some bullshit.
I think it's either all of those, but it's definitely paid for. Like there's a reason why this is happening, because there's a bunch of accounts that do the exact same thing. They literally, when a new game comes out, it's like you have this inundation of accounts. Like you tweet once about Star Wars Outlaws and suddenly your entire bloody feed is just, hashtag Star Wars Outlaws, hashtag Xbox Game Pass, hashtag this, and you're like, what the? And it's all about how good the game is, how amazing the game is. It always follows almost this exact same sort of thing. They'll tweet out what the game is, right, and where they're playing it, Xbox Game Pass or whatever, and then it'll be just reached chapter 2 or chapter 3 or got to this part of the story. They have no business making it that good. Hashtag the company that made the game, or adding the company that made the game. And you know, that's sort of the formula. So it's a baked in formula. And all I can think is, because the social media landscape is sort of turning on the game studios, and the Western gaming companies are finding it harder and harder to really get fans. I don't know if you've checked, for example, the last time AC Shadow's account actually got good likes on any of their tweets was when they were owning Elon. After that, every single tweet they put out gets maybe like 1,000, maybe 2,000 likes. Of course. You know, and this is an account with millions of followers. It should be getting hundreds of thousands of likes. I mean, you look at Asmongold.
Dead followers.
Asmongold tweets out a thing, and he instantly has like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of likes on his tweet. This company with millions of followers tweets something and they get maybe 2,000-3,000 likes. So now we're in this world where they are starting to pay for botting. They're starting to pay for almost, it's trying to make the games look successful from a grassroots perspective. Like this game has a massive following because look at all these people tweeting about how much they're enjoying the game.
It's an important thing to point out that, number one, that's illegal. Unless you put hashtag ad, it's straight up illegal. And so are you saying that this is something that Compulsion Games is doing or that Microsoft is doing?
I think specifically on X, because let's be real, one of the downsides of freedom and free speech also means less regulation, less control. I think on X they may actually be doing it without even putting a hashtag ad.
You can't use straight up, like it's straight up illegal. I'm just saying that what you're saying is a big accusation.
If you want to talk about straight up illegal and that they won't do it because it's straight up illegal, just yesterday, this has nothing to do with gaming, but I'll give you the story anyways. Just yesterday, we reacted for about 3 hours to a Senate hearing on a whistleblower from Facebook that outright has receipts of Mark Zuckerberg and Meta building and helping the Chinese government create the AI for their weapon and missile systems. That's not just a little illegal, that's treason. You know, so you think these companies are above not putting I don't think there.
I don't think they're above it. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, that's still like a big accusation.
I guess their argument. So if you look at the tweet isn't technically advertising, right? It's not technically saying buy the game. It's just saying the game is really good. So
I'm just saying from the interactions that I've had with gaming industry and shit like that, whenever people are handing out codes or anything like that, it's like they have that very specifically in the guidelines every single time. You do something with us, you do the hashtag ad, you do the thing, you do the disclosure every single time, which is why it makes it much harder to just be like, Microsoft's just pulling some shady shit. So
here's how I think they're getting around that. Usually, as you'll know yourself, if you have to tweet out that, you know, buy this game now, use my hashtag or use my code or whatever, right? So you're pushing people to buy the game. making a tweet in trying to buy the game. That is an ad. You have to say hashtag ad, right? But if you're just tweeting, let's say Monster Hunter, Capcom, right? It is Capcom. Let's say Capcom sponsored you to play Monster Hunter Wilds. So you play Monster Hunter Wilds, and while playing it, you're having just the time of your life. And you go and say, guys, I'm having so much fun with Monster Hunter Wilds right now. I just killed this boss, Giga Chat or whatever. You're not going to put hashtag ad because,
Absolutely, I will. Absolutely, I fucking will.
No, you won't. If it's an organic tweet,
if it's
like a week later.
If I'm getting sponsored, absolutely, I will.
No, hold up. If it's like a week later, right? They paid for you. They sent you a game key. They sponsored your day one. But now, next week you're playing the game, just having fun. You're not going to keep putting hashtag ad in the tweet. Why? This is an organic tweet.
I would probably do it for a month.
I don't think so. I think you wouldn't even think about it if it's just like a random tweet where you're just really celebrating your last boss kill or whatever. Right? So you're just going, dude, I just killed this boss. This is amazing. Obviously,
let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Every description on every single one of my video where I've ever received the code, it still says there. Even like fucking 2 years afterwards, it will still. And if it doesn't say, it probably means that I lost it somewhere in a copy paste because that is my intention. It will always say game provided by this company. I'm talking like 2 years.
I would
like, for instance, if I stream Monster Hunter World tomorrow, it will say in the description game provided by Capcom.
See, I would say
and they gave me the code fucking. I don't even know, 2018? How long ago was that?
Yeah, okay, but we are talking
fucking 7 years ago.
So this is your moral code, right? So from a moral perspective, and I would probably do something similar, although maybe not for 2 years, because at that point, I'm no longer really contracted to play the game. If I'm now playing the game,
7 years.
I'm just playing it for myself, right? I don't give a shit.
I'm playing it for myself, but I think it's important for people to still know that, like, hey, listen, originally this code was given to me by Capcom.
That's fine. We can argue about how long is required or whatever the case may be, but we are talking legally. Legally, you're not obligated to keep
legally a week after the sponsorship, I am not obligated to put hashtag ad. No.
So Microsoft, right. I think the gaming industry, I don't want to use allegedly, I think the gaming industry is making use of that little loophole. Because technically he's not advertising. But didn't the game came out
this week?
Well, technically he's not advertising the game. He's just saying how much fun he's having in the game. That's not advertising it. Right? So if people were to say, well, so it's a little legal loophole, right? He's not saying buy the game. He's not doing a sweepstakes. He's just...
But you're saying that he was paid.
I do think they are paid. Yeah. And it might not be as direct. There's a bunch of accounts that I find really suspicious. Really suspicious. There's one account, for example, has almost 10,000 plus followers on X. Has a YouTube channel where they put out a crap ton of videos on just about every game. The videos get like 100 views, 200 views. But this guy's engagement on X is off the charts. He gets massive engagement on X, but his video views get no views whatsoever. And he's an Xbox stan. Like every game, even if it's an old game that comes to Game Pass, gets the glazing tweet about how amazing Xbox Game Pass is and how amazing the Xbox One is. He's like 100%, and he does the hashtags, same as ever, right? All the hashtags are in there. And I just keep thinking, this guy must have some kind of big contract with Xbox, where Xbox pays him to do this, because why would you why would you glaze every single thing that comes out on Game Pass?
Bro.
This makes no sense.
We literally just talked about how people defend $90 games from Nintendo and they ain't getting paid for it. They're paying for the privilege.
Yeah, but there's something awkward here, Like every gamer.
I don't know.
Let me explain it like this way. Every gamer has a specific niche, right? And this topic, by the way, guys, isn't like a super factual topic, right? I'm not suggesting this is absolutely proof of the games industry doing crappy
this
stuff.
This is Akalon recognizing a pattern.
Yeah, I'm seeing a pattern. I'm going to continue to look and sort of see if this pattern leads somewhere.
Which I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying that like my experience tells me otherwise, but I don't know for sure.
No, that's fine. It's just like every gamer has a niche. Every gamer on this planet.
Yeah.
Your niche, for example, is fighting games. Specifically Monster Hunter,
fighting games? Absolutely not fighting games.
No, not Tekken and that shit. But like you know what I mean, right? You want to kill monsters.
Yeah, action RPGs, that type of thing. Yeah,
that's what you love. My games are city builders, RTAs, logistics, colony sims. That's my niche, and RPGs. I love that. I don't really play much of anything else. But then you have this account from a guy that apparently is a gamer. He likes every game. There's no game that comes out on Game Pass that he doesn't tweet about and likes. And
he's an Xbox stan. He's one of those people. He's one of those console warriors, bro. He's one of the listen. Do you not see the ones that are just like glazing Sony or glazing Nintendo and saying my brand is the best? This happens all the fucking time.
Yeah.
All the fucking time.
When you have
people glaze each other's brands all the fucking time.
But when you have that exact same outline as the tweet that I shared with you, the tweets look exactly the same. They have the exact same hashtags in exactly the same place. And it's every single game. I just sort of feel like, man, something's happening here.
You might be right.
And even if it is a bot, I would not put it past Microsoft to have a shit ton of bots. I mean, we saw it on Assassin's Creed Shadows. We saw it on Star Wars Outlaws. We saw it on Dragon Age the Veilguard. Their tweets would have hundreds of bots. And how we ultimately did find out that this was actually true, Master of the TDAs, an anti-woke YouTube grifter, he actually worked with X, and they removed tens of thousands of bots related to these tweets, because he was the first one to spot this pattern of all these bots glazing Dragon Age the Veilguard.
So while we're going on this kind of like conspiracy theories, I could also argue like, yeah, it'd be real easy for somebody to just put a bunch of bots doing random shit and then call them out.
Well, you could
catch them on the act.
You could, but fundamentally,
I'm just saying.
No,
I'm just saying.
100%. You're absolutely correct. He could have paid for the bots and then sort of call out.
I'm not saying it was him. I'm saying anybody can do it. Anybody can just get a bunch of bots and just like boom.
It's just interesting that it keeps being all these,
because it's like
games.
If you think about it, like, isn't it blatantly obvious when you look at a post on X and you just see the same like replies? I think I've saw that on Star Wars particularly. And you just see those same replies as like, oh, this is obviously botted. Like, it's the same thing as usually whenever I finish a live stream, there'll be 2 bot comments in there. It happens every single time. Like my stream finishes and I receive the 2 bot comments and it's the same fucking comment as well. It's like this fucking, it's a picture of a girl and she's saying like, oh my God, your content is so inspirational, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, bitch, I was just hunting monsters for fucking 8 hours. Yeah. There's nothing that inspirational about this.
No, but I think where things become really interesting is remember you have to remember who they're doing it for. For you and I, we look at that and we go, wait, these are just a bunch of bots. For them, these are numbers they can take to investors. Look at how much engagement our games are getting. Look at how many people are commenting. And the investors aren't looking through the comments of the tweet to go, wait, this is a lot of bots, right?
I mean, here's the interesting thing, right? Like I'm saying, this could be a conspiracy theory. Like there's somebody doing this on purpose to then call them out. At the same time, it can also be the community manager that's running the account, because what you just said is like the best case scenario is for the actual person running the account. They go up to the higher ups like, oh, look at all this engagement. And it's like, the thing is, they don't even show them the replies, right? No. They just show the post engagement. It's like, oh, look at this. It's got like fucking 500 comments, 100,000 likes. Look at this fucking
Look
shit.
how good
it's amazing.
I am at my job.
The bomb. Exactly. Look at how amazing I am at my job.
Yeah. Like, it could be, right? But it's just, the point is
it
just,
could be a million different things.
It's just very inorganic. And it makes games look, at least surface level, more popular than what they actually are. So I think we need to be careful with the direction that the world is going in, especially with how AI is. Dude, nowadays when you talk to Grok or ChatGPT, it sometimes does feel like you're talking to an actual person, like they're actually just typing back to you.
This is why I'm going to tabletop, bro. I'm going back to the roots of where gaming started. I'm going back to tabletop. Like, listen,
dude, I
don't want to deal with none of this bullshit.
It's soon going to be impossible to know what's real.
It's just me, another nerd, and a bunch of dice. That's how we do it.
Yeah, but I do think it's worrisome. It will soon be almost impossible to know what is real and what is completely fake.
Oh, yeah.
Because
absolutely.
As these AIs get better, they'll eventually be able to build social media profiles that don't look like bot profiles, that look like actual human profiles.
They're already doing
right now, the way to sort of spot the cheaper bots, at least, is the name will usually have a shit ton of numbers in it. And then they don't follow anyone but Elon Musk for some reason. Like, every single one of these bot accounts follow Elon Musk. And then they'll just have like a bunch of replies to usually like either some AAA companies. Every single time there's a AAA company, they do a reply. But what's also super interesting is the replies never stay. So usually after like a week or two, the replies get deleted. So clearly the bot knows it can't stay up for too long. So there must be some kind of, we'll screenshot the engagement here. Now we can delete all the replies, whatever, right? This is just super Alex Jones level stuff.
Weird,
right? We thought to call we're gonna have to call this InfoWars if we keep going. So let's move swiftly on to another topic here, and it is called No Mercy. Now, Rurikon, we just spent the last hour me doing my anti-woke grifting, and you listening to me, grifting on anti-woking. So now I'm going to say something where I almost feel like I have to grit my teeth. I'm going to agree with an organization that I loathe. I absolutely loathe women in gaming. The organization called Women in Gaming.
What?
Yeah, there's an organization called Women in Gaming.
For a second there, that sounded a little bit wrong.
No. I like girls in gaming. That's perfectly fine. The organization Women in Gaming is like a super woke DEI organization that pushes all of this.
Never heard of them.
Well, they call themselves Women in Games, and they stand for officially for the inclusion of women in video games. But
I just had this idea in my head.
Yeah.
It's like organization, Women in Gaming, just some fat guy behind the phone.
That's possible, right? But their actual mission is no men in gaming. That's what everything they push is anti-male. So this is sort of how it works nowadays. Feminism is just anti-male. Women in gaming is just anti-men in gaming. More people of color in gaming is just no white people in gaming. So, their favorite bullshit is basically whatever is anti-white straight men. That's what they're going for. But there's a game. I don't know if you know about this game. But there's a game called No Mercy. Came out on Steam, and it's another one of those drivel sexual bullshit games. Right? Where the whole purpose...
I've heard it includes like some very forward-thinking things like incest.
Oh yeah, you and your mother. And you're doing stuff to your mother that is against the rules and laws of dating. Not only is it against the rules and laws of dating to date your mother, but also you're doing some non-consensual things to your mother.
Oh.
Because your mother, the premise of the game is your mother dates this guy and you hate this guy. So now you have to screw her to the point where she no longer wants to date that guy. But then you also screw a bunch of other women. The whole point of the game is just to screw as many people as possible. That's basically it. Right? And the more non-consensual, the more points you get and stuff like that. So it is.
Oh, you get points for non-consensual?
From what I understand, like it gets
nice touch.
Yeah. So these guys made the game No Mercy, released it on Steam, and then the Karens at Women in Gaming immediately got very upset. They wrote a letter to Steam saying this game promotes violence against women. This is a disgrace, even though there is no evidence that actions taken in games actually relate to the real world, but they made that argument anyway. This is going to promote violence against women. This is literally a rock's throw away from Call of Duty causes school shootings. Like, this is where we're going with this, because if that leads to women abuse, then obviously Call of Duty will lead to school shootings. It's sort of, but anyways, that's the argument.
Surgeon Simulator is going to mean that I now have a medical license.
There you go. Right, you're gonna be a doctor soon.
So here's my problem with stuff like this. My biggest problem is that I'm pretty sure that this game had like probably not that much success on Steam, I would imagine, before it made it into the limelight. I would imagine this didn't like really have that many concurrents or whatever. It was just like some fucking dark thing, whatever.
It's like all of these 6 games. They have a
because there's a million hentai games on Steam. By the way, I don't know if this is going to be news for people, but yeah, there's tons of hentai games on Steam. And the thing to me is, you shouldn't be drawing too much attention to this shit, because the more you draw attention to it, the more people are gonna go and they're gonna troll. They're gonna be live streaming this shit, which is gonna be fantastic. Yes, have non-consensual sex with your mother. Yeah, this sounds like a great fucking idea. So
yeah,
I am not a fan of the game. I don't like it. I mean, I don't like it as in I don't like the subject matter. Like, I think it's disgusting.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not something that I'm interested in. And usually whenever I see shit like this, what I try to do is I try to not even engage with it. I'm just like, okay, this is so fucking out there. I just hope nobody runs into this and whatever. I've never really considered what my position would be on whether or not something like this should be censored.
So here's where
I don't know, because it's like, at the end of the day, as an adult, you should be able to consume whatever the fuck you want, so long as you're not acting on whatever, it's like, I just think it's fucked up. Like, I'm not interested in the content, but from a perspective of whether or not it should be censored,
I get what you're saying.
It's fucking weird. Like, I don't like it. I don't want it there.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. I don't want it there. Should it be illegal for it to be there? I don't fucking know. Better minds than me.
So
to make that decision.
I get what you're saying, and this is why I said I hate agreeing with women in video games. But on this issue, I do agree with them, and it is not censorship. This is where I think a lot of people make the mistake. I'm not saying that the game can't exist, because, by the way, even with Steam not really taking action, the company themselves decided to remove the game from Steam. So they put up this thing where they said, we'll take it off Steam. You don't have to worry.
Thank you.
I don't think these games belong on Steam. They are they are porn. Steam is supposed to be a gaming site. If someone wants to make a Steam equivalent for porn, go for it.
For hentai.
Yeah, for hentai bullshit. Go for it. Go make it. It's fine. But I don't think these games should have a place on Steam. If you look on Steam just how much this has caused, like how much bullshit this has caused, the new and trending tab on Steam is just hentai games. Like, the whole new and trending tab is literally just hentai games. You have to go to the
people
popular
are horny
games.
On main.
Yeah, and it's just like, I'm not censoring you. I'm just saying Steam shouldn't have these games on Steam. Steam is supposed to be a family platform. It's supposed to be a family-friendly platform. A lot of people have, accounts that they share with their kids. This stuff should not be on Steam. Steam is for video games. These are not games. They're interactive porn films. They're snuff films, right? Which you just interact with. there's a reason why YouTube isn't allowed to have porn on YouTube, even though they do, but they're not allowed to have it there, right? It's not an official service on YouTube. YouTube cannot make an ad that says, feeling lonely? Well, click on this video and come watch me get my brains banged out.
They've done that, though.
Yeah,
they've absolutely done that.
There are people who find a way to game the system and get through, but officially, this stuff isn't allowed on YouTube. I feel like this should also apply to Steam. If you want to have, if you want to watch spicy content, you have to go to Pornhub. If you want to play spicy games, you have to go to Porn Steam or whatever, right? Whatever it's called, I don't care. Just I don't think this belongs on Steam. Because I don't think it serves anyone that these games are on Steam. And that is not censorship, because I'm not saying that these games should be illegal. I'm asking Steam to take a stance.
I'm making the question as to whether or not this particular game should be illegal, which I'm not answering the question, but I am questioning myself as to where do I land on it, because I definitely don't. But it's like, again, am I being a prude? I don't fucking know. I just think that incest is fucked up.
Yeah.
Maybe I just think that incest is fucked up. I don't know what to tell you.
That's a wild take, Rurkon.
It's fucked up.
That's really hot take.
I know. It's a hot take. Incest is kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
But no, I fully agree with you. I think there are a lot of these games where you sort of do have to ask yourself, it's a bit challenging from a moral perspective. Yeah. But my argument has always been, when games like this become sort of mainstream, you already have a moral problem in society.
Absolutely.
Society's morality has already gone the way of the dodo bird for the most part. And I won't get more political than that, but there's a lot of signals that show that morally society has already lost its way. I just think, it's fine if people want to go play these bullshit games. They just shouldn't be playing them. We shouldn't be making it easier for them to get access to this shit. Because there's a lot of things that get into it, but it's going to lead to conversations that this podcast doesn't really cover. So, fundamentally, the game is off Steam, based on their own accord. Steam, for example, didn't want it there. It's just so interesting to me how Steam's moderation works when it comes to video games, because there's games that's just legitimate games that get blocked. It can't go on Steam. But then you have games like this that, yeah, sure, you want to screw your mother against her will? Based.
It's a really strange thing sometimes how some games end up on certain platforms.
Yeah.
It is really weird. Like, you'll have some games that won't be able to make it there, and they're actually legitimately good games, or there's like a bunch of roadblocks to them getting the certification and shit like that, specifically on console platforms. Then all of a sudden, just like a random game will push through, and it's just like this absolute dog shit garbage, and you're just like, how the fuck did this even make it in here? Like, what are you doing? There needs to be better curation on platforms, for sure.
No, definitely agree with you. Okay, so we covered the Ubisoft stuff, but let's talk quickly about the Diablo 4 Path of Exile. There's some drama with Path of Exile. I don't know what the drama is with Path of Exile, going to be honest, so you're going to have to inform me on this one.
So let's open up with Diablo 4. Give us the rundown, then we'll get to the PoE 2 stuff.
Diablo 4 is effectively, I feel like it would be disrespectful to checkers to say that Diablo 4 has been playing checkers while Path of Exile has been playing chess, because not even checkers is as bad.
No, Diablo 4 is playing tic-tac-toe with itself and losing.
Yeah. Like, Diablo 4 has been criticized by its previous president, Mike Ybarra. I know this is not Rurikon's favorite person, because he personally stole Rurikon's money and then retired.
He did! He took my fucking money, that fucking bastard. Never gave me my season pass token back. I'll never let it go. I'm never gonna let it go. He took my fucking money.
Yeah.
That piece of shit.
So I know Rurikon doesn't like Mike Ybarra, but Mike Ybarra has effectively said he doesn't know what Diablo 4 is currently doing. Diablo 4's roadmaps, which is a big part of Blizzard now, they just do roadmaps for every single game. Diablo 4's roadmaps is effectively just a bunch of battle passes. And the battle passes amount to literally just pates. Here's another pate. Complete the battle pass and let's go. Literally no real new content that comes out. No real push to try and make the game more competitive with Path of Exile. You would have thought that with Path of Exile being as big as it is and being the smash hit that it is, Diablo 4 would have woken up by now and been like, oh, wait, dudes, we need to do something. They've done nothing. Nothing. There's literally...
Because there's nothing they can do because they're creatively bankrupt. They're creatively bankrupt by every conceivable metric when it comes to the Diablo 2 team. And I would even say at this point, when it comes to the fucking Warcraft team, they can't seem to like develop their way out of fuck all. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's just no creativity left at Blizzard. Like it's a dead husk. It's also been a dead husk. We've just been trying. I almost feel like Blizzard has been a dead husk for the last fucking decade. Yeah. And it's just all of us in the community going like, come on, do something. I have an X-Acto knife, but I'm just pretend that it's like a stick. We're just like poking it with a stick. Come on, Blizzard, do something. Come on, do something. Yeah. And they just keep like floundering around, like actually not doing anything.
Yeah, he
like fucking.
He
slobbering.
Did say something.
They're fucking resting on their own feces. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're just like playing with their feces over there.
Mike Ybarra did say something that I found quite interesting, and that was, he thinks Blizzard focuses way too much on story in a game where the story is not the main focus for people who play the game. Right? And let's be real. Most people play the story of an ARPG once. From there, they're just trying to get to max level. They're rushing through it as quickly as possible because they want to get to the challenging part of the game because that's what they're playing it for, right? Whereas when it comes to Diablo, I feel like world building is one of its strongest points. I do. Because the actual gameplay has been ass since Diablo 2. No, I do agree with you, but this is part of his argument. His argument is that the expansions take way too long to come out. Their cadence should be yearly expansions, focused mostly on new content, not new story. The issue is that their content cadence at the moment is every 2 years because they have to build this giant story with voice acting and all this stuff. And the story itself is also not even that good, right? Because I think if I'm sort of reading into what he's saying, they're splitting their attention way too much. They're trying to focus on things that it's like when you make any sort of business decision, you have to keep in mind who is the audience that I'm making this for. What do they care about? Do they actually care about the story or do they care about gameplay stuff? You look at Path of Exile, that's still in early access, bro. And Diablo 4 has nothing on Path of Exile. Like nothing. There's no comparison.
The thing is, a good story campaign will get you new players.
Yeah.
Good mechanics will retain your existing players.
Oh, yeah.
So like new gameplay experiences and all that stuff, that's for your existing players. And if you're lucky, for the new players as well. The reason they want to make new stories is because that is what brings the new players in. Because they're like, oh yeah, I've never seen the story. I want to go play the story. And then they play the story and then hopefully you'll get some of them on the hook. Yeah. So the challenge that they're facing is how can we just do gameplay things and still bring in the new players without a new story.
But the issue is right now, Path of Exile is wiping the floor with you. And when Path of Exile 2 leaves early access, it's over.
That's where we need to talk, because in fact, Path of Exile 2, while they are wiping the floor with Diablo 4, Path of Exile 2 is actually getting quite a bit of backlash from their own community.
Okay,
to the point where we actually had a very, very spicy interview this week, where it was almost combative. It was almost like, it was fucking crazy. The beginning of that interview, it was just like, I was like, damn, what the fuck is going on?
Wait, what happened?
So here's what happened with Path of Exile, right? So the developers don't want Path of Exile 2 to be Path of Exile 1, which Path of Exile 1, if you've seen gameplay of Endgame, it's usually like, somebody going through, clearing screens at the speed of light, just blasting through, destroying everything within like milliseconds.
Yeah.
That's like Endgame gameplay of Path of Exile. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just not into it. It's not my thing. I don't want to be playing a character that deletes screens at the speed of light, and that's kind of like the main draw of the gameplay. And so the developers don't want that, but obviously people were able to achieve that with version 0.1. So now they've launched a new league, which is Dawn of the Hunt, which is version of the game 0.2.
Yeah.
And on launch, they had a brutal round of nerfs. Like, they nerfed fucking everything in the game. Wow. Like, they nerfed you into the ground.
Okay.
And then they increased the mob's health.
Oh, crap. They made it harder.
So it's like a fucking double whammy. Okay? And so players get into the game. And everybody's like, what the fuck is this shit? This is so bad. I can't play the game. And in my case, I jump into the game and I wanted to try out the new weapon, which is the spear. And I end up like, oh, I actually don't like it. Guys, tell you what, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to come back on Monday or whatever, and I'll try a different build and see how that feels. So I didn't even get to experience this super hard thing. Like, I was chugging along. I was killing stuff, whatever, but I was only playing the very beginning. And I was like, actually, I don't like the spear, so fuck all this. I'll make a new character. And apparently, in between the time that I dropped out for like 2 days, there were like 2 or 3 patches where they massively nerfed the monster's health. They started buffing things, but it was still not enough. Everybody was going like, the game is literally unplayable. Like, you're talking, there were videos of people saying this is the worst ARPG I've ever played in my fucking life. Like, people were crashing out left, right, and center. And then there's this interview with one of the big content creators from Path of Exile, which is a guy called Zizarin. He's like, his whole thing is Path of Exile.
Okay.
He also covers other ARPGs from time to time, but like, everybody knows him from Path of Exile. Yeah, and so he goes on to this interview with the 2 main guys behind Path of Exile, and they start the interview, and he's just like, he starts going on this complaint, and the developer tries to interrupt him and goes like, no, let me finish. Like, I'm not done yet. Yeah. I got so much more. I got like 5 more in the bank, motherfucker. Just wait. And it was very, very combative. Now, I think that this was actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Because, he got his points across. There was back and forth with developers. And at the end of the interview, one of the developers even apologized because he was upset at the beginning. And I understand why dude's upset, is because dude's probably watching like videos of people just shitting all over his game nonstop for a whole fucking weekend. Like this game that he's pouring his blood, sweat, and tears into. And people are just like shitting all over it. Like, you don't understand. You have to actually watch some of these reactions. It is insane, the level of... Because it's like you see the release of Path of Exile 2 and everybody's like super positive and everybody's like, oh, it's going to be good. Everybody's good times. And this was the exact opposite to an extreme degree. Like, people, this is shit. This is the worst thing fucking ever. You ruined everything. Oh, it is miserable. And I fucking hate you. And I hate your vision. And I hate your game. It was like, it was literally like this. Okay. I'm not exaggerating. Like, people were having, it was worse than what I'm saying here. Okay. It was even worse than this, like genuine crash outs.
Wow. Okay.
And so the thing was, after that interview, out come like 2 or 3 more patches, and now people are all happy again. And I'm just like, wow, this was what a hell of a roller coaster ride, boys. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm sorry, PoE community, I was not aware of your game. Like, what the fuck? We went it was crazy. Like, listen, the PoE community ain't taking shit from no one. They shit on they turned on the game so fast. I was on tilt. I was like, what the fuck?
But
it's crazy.
I do think that the fact that there's a couple of patches and then suddenly the game is good again suggests a couple of things. First, the developers know
it's not perfect.
No,
it's
obviously
not perfect, but people are happier now a little bit, from what I can tell.
But obviously, the developers at least are listening, right? And they're willing to take advice. They're willing to listen to their community. They're not sort of going around pretending like they know best. So I do think that's sort of the mark of a good, healthy community. I know a lot of developers don't want that. They want the community just constantly glaze them. But you learn more, and it tells you that your community is engaged when they're losing their shit when the game goes bad. Because what's more upsetting is if the game goes bad and no one says anything, because that means they just left.
Yeah.
They just stopped playing. That's much worse.
The thing that is happening now with PoE 2 is, and this is something that is making me question a lot of things, because I think it's important to listen, but I think it is also important to go like, no, wait, I actually think that this should be like this. This is the vision that I have for the game, and to actually stand behind some of the things that you're doing. The amount of changes that they're making to the game also has me somewhat concerned, because a lot of the people that are crashing out and having all these things, they're like, they want Path of Exile 2 to be Path of Exile 1.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them want that. I'm not saying everyone, because I know that some people in PoE community do watch my stuff. I'm not saying that it's everyone, but from some of the crash outs that I've seen, definitely a lot of people just want the PoE 1 experience in PoE 2, which is fine. But I also feel like the developers need to come out and say, okay, guys, we're bringing over all of the gameplay stuff from PoE 1. This is going to be, PoE 2 is going to actually be the proper version of PoE 1, whatever. We're going to go and you're going to be screen clearing like that, like an absolute, because the thing that I like about PoE is the slower, more methodical pace of the game, which is way more fun to me than the fucking zippy zoom,
I don't like the ADHD
blast
version of ARPGs. Like the whole let's go as fast as we can, clear an entire map with movement abilities. I don't like that.
But see, that's the thing. A lot of people consider that is the genre. That is what an ARPG should be, and every RPG should be like that. Yeah. What attracted me to Path of Exile 2 is specifically like, no, I have to think this through and use this ability on this thing. And I even thought that even in the previous version of the game, than 0.1, that by the time I got the mapping, I was like, this is way faster than I want. I want it to be even slower than this.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking and I'm seeing everybody just screen clearing like absolute maniacs. And I'm just like, well, here we go again.
Yeah.
So it's is weird. But then again, I'm playing solo self-found, so it's not like I have to care about what anybody else is doing. So whatever the fuck, right?
No, I mean,
but so long as there's an experience there
for
the thing that I want, which is more methodical, that's what I want to keep doing. But if it's expected of me that by the time I get to the enemy, it's like, no, you either zoom, or you fucking die.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, fuck that.
No, I fully respect that. But fundamentally, even with the outrage, I mean, the Blizzard community is so bad, no one's even outraged anymore. They're just sort of sitting there going, well, the game sucks.
Well,
it is what it is. What are you going to do about it? So I genuinely think Blizzard is just, it's a company that has sort of already run out of every single creative capital that it used to have. And
they got nothing.
It's now desperately trying to hold on to its name. It's desperately trying to hold on to, well, we're Blizzard. You guys should love us. You used to love us so much. And it's like, oops. Well, that's gone now, because you took advantage of your community for way too long. You pretended like you knew what was going on, even though you should have listened to your players a lot more. And this is where we are now. I don't know what else to tell you. It's sad, but it is what it is. I think moving on from there, just very quickly, and this is another one of those where you sort of, because it does relate quite nicely to what we're talking about, even in this case, PC continues to dominate. So, companies like Blizzard really has no excuse to not have a lot of players playing their video games, because PC, this is just new information. This is just a bit of fun for you guys. We now have new numbers from Newzoo, who basically does a PC and console gaming report every single year, where they use a number of different metrics to try and track how many players there actually are. Now, it should be mentioned here that the data is only an indication of what is actually happening, because getting the exact data would be nigh impossible. There's so many different things and elements to play into it that finding the exact data is impossible. But since they've been tracking it for so long, using the exact same data markers, it does give them a fairly good idea of the trends, right? Because they don't have the exact data, but since they're tracking the same data over the course of, I think it's been 10 years or something that they've tracked this, they now have a pretty good idea of where they're actually going with this. So what they found is that in 2025, PC player numbers have rose 3.9% year over year, from 873 million to 907 million in 2024. This is compared to console growth that has grown a little bit, but only at 2.3%, from 615.6 million to 629.5 million. The reason this is super, super interesting to me is that, first, I believe this is actually the first time that PC has grown faster than console. Prior to this, console would always grow a little bit bigger. The only other time I think was 2021, with the big pandemic, where we saw a massive growth in PC. That we saw PC just explode. But since then, it seems like PC is moving super strong. And I sort of wonder, and this is just a bit of conjecture on my part, I wonder if a lot of this isn't console shooting itself in the dick.
Oh, absolutely. Like what is happening right now is the console manufacturers fucking around, and they're about to find out, because people have gotten quite sick of the way that a lot of these companies are operating, constantly increasing prices and constantly doing all of this shit. And they're like, well, fuck. If you're gonna be charging me all of this money, I might as well just get a PC. Then I won't have to pay to play online every fucking month, and then I can just get Steam sales, which are usually cheaper than most of the stuff that happens on consoles.
Yeah.
And just don't have to deal with any of that bullshit anymore. It's like, and on top of it, one of the biggest things has been the slow and steady move towards more digital games. And it's like, okay, you want to move towards digital games, but people still want to have physical libraries. Having a physical library is one of the main reasons why people still have consoles. It's not the main reason, because obviously the main reason is the convenience. A console is more convenient than a PC. It is easier to set up. It is easier to just get started playing. It is easier in every aspect.
Yeah.
But even there, consoles are getting more complicated, because now you get a console, you have to set up an account, have to fucking go online, have to pay for a membership, have to do this thing. And now consoles also have like integrated services, like you then need an account for Discord if you want to use Discord with your friends and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Or if you want to do some other bullshit in a console, that's another account. And we're getting more and more online. And therefore, consoles are getting a little bit more complicated, and people are like, well, if we're going to get this level of complicated, and we're going to get this level of just like digital shit as opposed to actual physical media where I just put the disc in a console, people are going to just start moving into PC. Like for my case, that was one of the main drivers of this, was the fact that like, okay, so fucking physical media is pretty much on its death ropes. Every goddamn game that you buy nowadays practically almost doesn't work unless you patch it with the day one patch, because otherwise it's going to have performance issues, maybe even game breaking issues and all this stuff. And I know that people like to argue with me whenever I bring this up in comment sections, like, actually I have a lot of video games. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you do, bro. I'm sure you do. And I'm sure they all run fucking super smooth 60 FPS out of the box. I'm sure they do. All of them, literally all of them. Okay. I'm sure that none of them has performance issues that were solved with a day one patch. Of course. So it's like, to me, that is the problem. Companies started going down this route, and I'm just like, no, I want physical media. And they said, fuck you, give us more money and go digital. And I was like, okay, I am going to give more money, but not to you. And I am going to go digital, but not with you.
Yeah. I think you're making a great point there. The thing is, console could never challenge PC on power, graphics, or functionality.
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
Everything that a console can do, a PC can do 100 times better.
So what the console does is the convenience aspect and the physical media aspect, and both of those things are becoming more inconvenient, and the physical media is going away. Yeah, so it's like, okay.
And not to mention, PCs are also becoming more convenient. You know, nowadays there's so many services that'll build the PC for you. You just order it and it arrives at your door. It's already built. Everything's installed. You can just play.
You miss out on all the fun, though.
I love building my PC. Like, building a PC is like, because there's that sense of achievement when you run the first game on your newly built PC. You're like, it works. It looks so beautiful. There's something really visceral about that feeling.
I made it with my hands.
Yeah, I built this. My ancestors would be proud of me.
My ancestors would be proud. Let's go.
Yeah. You know, there's something.
You built a glorified Lego. Your ancestors would be proud.
I made this with my bare hands. You know, it's like it's amazing. But for console people, it's getting a lot easier to just buy a PC. And the whole adage, one of the things that used to be super strong for console was you buy the game, plug it in, play, it's done. PC would oftentimes have serious problems and you would have to go through a bunch of... That's also largely gone. Most PC games now, you download on Steam, it just runs. It's just going to work from the start. Except when it's Bethesda, then it doesn't just work. But that's just a Bethesda thing. And I think that works for console the same thing.
It's a feature.
You know?
It's a feature.
Yeah, it's a feature, not a bug. They'll fix it later. Because they just work. But fundamentally, you then also now have the inclusion of what is called portable PCs, which I think Newzoo would likely count as just a PC. Because if you're playing on a Steam Deck, yes, it's a handheld,
you're playing on a
but
PC.
it is a portable PC. So, and that is literally a console.
Then you have like your ROG Allies and all these other
all these other handouts that's starting to come out. So what's happened is console has taken the one thing that it had over PC and just said, nah, screw it. Let's also go digital. And let's make it a little bit more complicated to actually get locked in and play the game. It's okay, but why then? Why would anyone own a console then? I will get better graphics, better performance, and a better experience on the PC. And
the answer to that is going to be exclusives.
Yeah,
exclusives would be the reason to do it, but even exclusives are going the way of the dodo. So
yeah, because there's
except for Nintendo,
too many people on PC now for PlayStation to really keep going with the exclusives. You know, so exclusive windows are also getting, even the games that are exclusive, their windows are starting to become smaller. It used to be sometimes even 2 years before a game would come to PC. Nowadays, we see them as quickly as a year, even some of them 6 months that they come to PC. So fundamentally, there is just it's not like there's no advantages to buying a console. There's still some advantage to buying a console, but those advantages are becoming a little bit more opaque. It's like you have to really squint to see the advantages that you're looking at.
I mean, the biggest advantage right now is still the price, because PCs are still way more expensive.
That's true.
But again, that is your starting price at this point.
Yeah.
Because with the price because here's something that maybe some people are not aware of, depending on the country that you live in, or depending on if you are maybe mostly a PC guy. Games on console are significantly more expensive. I'm talking like significantly more expensive. So like, for instance, to give you guys an idea, Diablo 2 came out. Not Diablo 2, Diablo 4 came out. Most of you guys, if you wanted that early access, paid $90. On console, in Portugal, because I played Diablo 4 on PlayStation 5, I paid €100.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's way more expensive.
There's also there's the other thing. You just said it's more expensive, but that's only if you exclude portable PC like Steam Deck, because Steam Deck is actually cheaper than console. So you get not quite the power of the PC, but in many cases you do get a lot of power from these portable PCs. The new ROG Ally apparently is super good. The Lenovo one is actually one of the most powerful ones they've made to date. So soon these pocket PCs are probably going to be just as powerful, if not more powerful than the consoles.
I wouldn't call them pocket.
Yeah, but
yes, pocket.
Bottle,
you ain't putting that shit in your pocket.
Yeah, no. I mean, it depends on if we're gonna go back to the baggy days where we were wearing baggies with you remember those pants with
cargo pants.
Yeah, with the pockets all the way down. I have 500 pockets on my pants. Those if we go back to those, they'll fit there. But yeah, so
it might.
But fundamentally, the prices are coming down, performances are going up. And I think fundamentally, you are just seeing the death of the console industry, slowly but surely, because it has given up on the one thing that it had that PC couldn't offer, which was physical media. Because PC gamers, and this should probably be, this is a fundamentally interesting thing when you look at culture, PC gamers celebrated the death of physical media. For PC gamers, it was amazing because they no longer have to install a DVD drive on my bloody PC. I can now just download the games and play them instantly. Console gamers, on the other hand, really loved their physical games. So it's sort of interesting how for PC, we love the fact that I love it. The fact that I don't have to own a physical game, dude, that's so cool. I just load up Steam and all my games are right there. I can just click play and I go. I don't have to insert disc, and now I'm playing, and it's bullshit. So we celebrated the death of physical media. You guys obviously held on to that for as long as you can. The problem is that they've sold the physical media right out from under you, and now they're paying the price for that, which I think is fine. Are we going to talk about? We'll probably just mention it. I'll just mention it quickly. China is threatening to ban Hollywood over the tariff stuff. We're not going to be talking about tariffs because it has literally nothing to do with the video game industry at the moment. But China want to ban Hollywood, and my literal response when I saw that was just, anyway, okay, Hollywood's going bankrupt. This sounds good.
I mean, Hollywood's already going down the drain. It's been going down the drain for quite some time. So
yeah,
the best part is that while they've been going down the drain, they've been trying to glaze China's dick so fucking hard it's actually disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes going right down into some racist situations, like the John Boyega, for people who remember that, where like in most Western countries, on the Star Wars poster, John Boyega prominently featured like center character. Then you go to China and he's like a background character, like all the way fucking back here.
Yeah,
and it's like, wow, that's not fucked up at all.
No.
All right,
something's different here. But no, so I've heard this crazy conspiracy theory, but someone suggested all of the DEI woke stuff we see in Hollywood, we see in gaming, it's all pushed out of China. And what their argument is, China is using this as a way to effectively buy up gaming companies. So as these companies start losing money, become worthless, Tencent steps in and starts buying just more of the companies.
Oh, when you say pushed out of China, you say that China are the ones introducing it into the market and funding it in order to then just sabotage these companies. Ooh.
Yeah. So
that's some like fucking 5D chess.
Yeah, someone said it's China moving this stuff because remember DEI comes from it comes from communism. It's part of the communist movement. It started in the 60s. I'm doing massive research on this for a video. It's called the Long March Through the Institutions. That's the plan that they came up with. It's cultural Marxism. The idea being post-truth. Nothing is actually true. There's no such thing as objective truth. What is a woman? All of this stuff. It all comes from this sort of cultural Marxist bend. And by the way, this is not conspiracy. The Long March Through the Institutions is an actual movement.
I know nothing about this.
Yeah, I'm just saying people can literally Google this. The Long March Through the Institutions is not, they didn't hide it. They were very clear because in the 60s, communism got completely wrecked in America. They found out that the American public isn't okay with communism. And so they decided to do this more slow approach. First, go into the universities, capture the universities with communism. Once you have all the professors will convert the students to communists. The students will then go into the workplace and they'll convert all of the workplaces into communism. And once you have that, you'll also move into the politics side because all politicians come from the universities. So you'll move communism into the levers of power. So slowly but surely, moving long march through the institutions, you'll flip every single institution communist. Now, remember, China is a communist country. So a lot of people are suggesting that there seems to be ties because a lot of professors, a lot of these super woke professors have very close ties to China. They've been to China. They've worked in China. There's like a massive thing there. So someone is suggesting that all of this comes from China. And one of the reasons for this is so that China can buy up basically the whole of the entertainment industry. Now, this is where the conspiracy theory sort of gets a little muddy, because on the one hand, they're saying China just wants these so that they can control the minds of the West. The other version of this is China's ultimate play. Remember, movies is a massive industry. Gaming is a massive industry, and it's a big part of the economy of the West. These companies make a shit ton of money. If China manages to buy into enough companies in Hollywood as well as in gaming, and then overnight decide to dump all of their shares, you have an entire industry that basically dies overnight. It cripples Western economies because the stock markets will go into a panic. Because you have Tencent effectively dropping all of their investments in all of their companies all at the same time. So someone is suggesting this might be it. I just found it super interesting, so I thought I'd share it here with everyone in case people want a bit of conspiracy theory. I'm not suggesting this is true, just FYI. I'm not even saying I believe it. It's just fun.
Here's one thing, which is money corrupts absolutely. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, that's super.
You were saying early that that Mark Zuckerberg was caught like selling technology to the Chinese or helping them manufacture weapons or whatever, which is just like, that is pretty fucked up. If that's it's just like I don't know, man.
She has receipts. She shared it with the Senate, so I think Mark Zuckerberg is going to jail.
I highly doubt it. He's too rich to go to jail.
Most likely, if you and I did that, we'd be hanging already.
Oh, absolutely.
We'd be screwed. But yeah, he's probably just going to get a slap on the wrist, and it's going to be the end of it. Anyway, speaking of ends,
as per usual,
this is the end of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Let us know in the comments everything you thought about the topics we discussed. Other topics that you would like us to discuss, things, maybe gaming news that you feel we don't spend enough time talking about, maybe some industry news or hardware news that you guys feel like we should make part of it, or do you want us to open things a little bit more, talk about more stuff? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, hit the like if you like. Disk if you done. Rudicon, thank you so much for joining me once again for another episode of the Mythic Banter. Peace.